Hello, and what is up, chat? Great to see you guys. This is episode 20. How have we done 20 of these already? This is crazy. I didn't think we were going to get past episode 1. Literally, I did not think I was going to live through that experience. But I'm so happy to see what this place is turning into. It's been such a positive place. A place where people are actually coming together and talking, which is what this whole thing is about. That's the whole theme of this show, is just to get people talking. I believe that we're in a time where it's really, conversation is becoming a novelty, and that's not good. Conversation should not be novel. We should be able to put differences aside and recognize that people are people, and people go through shit. So this is a place where callers can call in and share anything that they've been going through, or confess something, or vent something, and the chat and I will hear them out, no matter what it is, and try to offer support, empathy, love. The only thing we can't do here is hug, because computers. Maybe Elon Musk can fix that for us. Oh gosh, I don't have my soundboard ready. Where's my soundboard? That definitely deserves some kind of signal there that was funny, because it was hilarious. There we go. That was a great joke. Wow, we've already made a joke. Look at that. Welcome. We're going to open lines in just a second, but first, I want to just give a massive thank you to everyone who has stuck through thus far in this stream, and have to those who have contributed ideas or thoughts or suggestions or even criticism. There's been a lot of criticism, which is understandable, because we're dealing with people who are calling in at their wits' end often, and that is not something to take lightly, and I certainly don't. I want this to be a place where people feel safe sharing. To be very clear, I don't assume I can fix anyone. I don't even think the chat and I together can fix anyone, and that's not what this is about. This isn't about fixing people or, pointing out things they're doing wrong. This is literally the exact opposite thing, which is just hearing people, just hearing what they have to say, letting them talk. Often I'll let a caller talk for minutes on end, and I'll just listen, and the chat and I'll listen. And it's amazing to see the chat goes like silent while some of these people are talking. There's like no chatter, and people will come in and be like, is there anybody actually watching, or are you guys just all a bunch of bots? And people will chime in and be like, oh yeah, no, we're just listening. And that's what this is about. And it's so amazing to see that people are getting that, because people are people, and we're all people, and we all have things we want to say. We all have things that we've gone through. Most of us have gone through things that are really difficult, and most of us have struggled. And this is a place where we don't care what you're struggling with. You can call in with the most ludicrous thing you're struggling with, and we believe that most people are inclined to tell the truth about such things, and that they're not gonna just lie. We do have a small mechanism by which we filter callers, which is known as toast. It sounds a little bit like this, and we just want to believe that people can talk in 2022. So that's it. That's my spiel on episode 20. I'll can the spiel now. Quick update on life coaching. I did not highlight it last week because I was getting so many emails about it, and it's an extension of this that I'm still very slowly, an extension of this live stream that I'm still very slowly considering, and I have no idea if this is something that I'll keep up, but this is something that I feel is needed because people are emailing about it, and I didn't highlight it last week because I was getting so many emails about it. And so as I've gotten deeper with some of these people who've been moving forward with life coaching, cost has been a concern to some of them. So it's becoming clear that some of these people will not financially be able to keep this up long term. And so because a lot of these people have like a therapist and a psychiatrist already. And so having 3 people that they're talking to is not affordable for everybody. So I did want to just quickly, before we open up the lines, highlight life coaching. If you are going through any of these topics here on the screen and would like to talk with someone who's been through these things and overcome them without crawling into their own existence introspectively and losing themselves, this is something that I really want to do with a small chunk of my time. I can't devote all of my time to life coaching, but depending on the response to this, this may go deeper. I'm hesitating saying too much. I'll just say it. Like if this were depending on the response to this show, this is something that I've thought a lot about for a long time, years. I'm still hesitating saying it. I'm getting a little choked up even admitting that I want to do this, but like I would love to be able to justify going to school and getting a PhD in psychology. And that's something I've always wanted. It's not to say that I would never use comedy again. Of course, this channel is a place where I am going to be posting absurd things probably until I'm in the ground. But this is something deeper than just laughing. This is a place where we're protecting people with anonymity, and we want to go deep with people, a lot deeper than just a laugh. And we want to hear some hard stuff, and we want to see people making positive changes in their lives, and we want to hear that people are getting through their challenges, their difficult experiences. And so life coaching is something I'm devoting a small chunk of my time to, and depending on the response to all of this series, having a psychology degree is something that I've always wanted, and I probably would not actually follow through with that unless there was some feeling of need for that, or some sense of that I wouldn't be just wasting my time doing it. Because let's be honest, I am just a weirdo on YouTube. But these are people go through things, and people need people to talk to. So that's what we're doing. If you're interested in that, the rates for this life coaching thing is roughly $75 for every half hour. And there are, for some people that may be a shock. It's well under the most expensive. I'm way cheaper than the most expensive life coach, but it's hard for me to price these things out because I'm not a psychologist, but also a lot of these things on this list are things that I'm very proficient in. Not least of which running a business, which I've done for 20 years now. So it's hard for me to price these things out because I'm not an expert with I can't diagnose a psychopath. But I've known a lot of psychopaths, and I've survived many relationships with psychopaths and have exercised boundaries with many psychopaths. So I'm moderately helpful with things like that, is my point. And I would say I'm exceptionally good with running a business because I've done it for so long. So pricing this out is really difficult for me. I probably should be charging a lot more for the business stuff, and I probably should be it's just a hard equation. So I think the price is fair, and I have a lot I'm responsible for. So I have to be very careful what I spend my time on. That's the reason for the cost. Anyway, so that's my spiel on thanking you all for sticking with us for these first 20 episodes and life coaching. And with that, we are going to open up these lines. We have added a new disclaimer to the screen, or reminder to just generally keep the comments focused on the callers during the calls, at least. If you are if you're just a casual viewer here and you want to quote some ridiculous thing from one of my videos, we're trying to find the balance with removing those comments. We think the most fair thing to do is to only remove those kinds of comments during the calls themselves, because we ultimately want this chat to be a resource for the callers, and also be something that I can pull from during the calls. If somebody says something helpful, we want the chat to be focused on the callers so that I can process it, because it's a lot for me to navigate a conversation with some of these people while reading things in the chat. So I'm burning a lot of mental calories, and so that's the reason for that. We're not trying to be jerks. Hope you guys understand. And with that, we are going to take our first caller. Here we go. Why is it not going? Hi, thanks for calling.
Hey, Julian. First of all, let me just say I've loved your videos for a long time, especially the Malk one.
Thanks. What's on your mind? That means a lot. I appreciate your support.
Oh my gosh, a lot. Okay, so I was supposed to graduate from college this semester, but well, one, I had to finish my capstone. That's the make or break class over the summer, and on top of that, I failed another class. It was a 69.23, close enough to pass, but they couldn't curve the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I just got a lot on my plate right now. I swear I am done with college. I don't want to be stuck in school longer than I have to, but my parents are like, well, either you stay in school or you pay back those student loans we took out for you, and I just feel like I'm just stuck in a rut right now.
So you feel stuck in college. Are you getting good grades?
Yeah, just that one class was a 69.23.
Okay. What are you studying?
Journalism. I don't even want to do journalism anymore. It just sucks the life right out of you.
Doesn't sound like you are passionate about what you're studying. I wonder what you would be.
Well, I originally wanted to go in the entertainment industry, like a podcast or maybe some TV. I'm mainly a writer, but at this point, with journalism, the industry, every hour, like, all right, what story do you got for us? What story do you got for us? And I'm just like, I don't know.
Well, you do realize that it would be no different in entertainment, right? Like, and I'm not trying to be mean, but it would be no different in entertainment. Now you're talking to somebody that believes journalism is a dying art, so I completely understand and empathize with you that journalism is not what it used to be. So I sense maybe there's some kind of ethical dilemma you're facing with studying journalism. Maybe it's not what you originally thought you signed up for. So
right.
That's one thing. But to be fair, it would be the same exact thing in entertainment. In fact, it may be worse because, I don't know.
I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you did it when you first got started on YouTube.
Well, it's an interesting question. My story with coming up on YouTube is an exception because there were no algorithms. Everything was organic reach. In fact, the algorithms were a reason that I really started questioning how I express myself comedically on digital platforms, because it just totally changed the whole thing. Like, I used to make 90-second videos, 3-minute videos tops, and the algorithm doesn't like those anymore. They like a video that'll keep people for a long time. And so I would not use my story as inspiration. I would be very careful about doing that, because that was 2008. That was a long time ago.
Right, I don't expect you to.
Yeah.
But I really am changing career plans, because I got my med card back in December, and I want to work in a dispensary because for my stress, it's really helped me out. And I used to take antidepressants, but those things made me sick to my stomach. I just want to show people that, it's not crack, it's not meth, that's just chemicals put together. Cannabis is just pure grown, and it's really helped me a lot. Sleep, going throughout my day, and that's what I want to do. So
I'm hearing a few different things. I'm hearing that you You don't want to study journalism. I'm hearing that you you wished you were working in entertainment, but where's this this cannabis thing? You want to work, you want to have your own dispensary as well? Is that it, or you want to be an advocate of cannabis? I'm just trying to figure out.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep taking you in different directions.
No, it's okay. I'm just trying to figure out what would make this a good call.
It's just like what I really want to do in the future right now, my plans right now.
Okay. So I can't give you career advice on a short call. I respect your life too much to mess it up on a short phone call. I apologize. I'm still trying to figure out what would make this a good call. How would you like to use the chat and me tonight?
Just try to find how to keep going through life when all the good things in life just get taken away from you or you stop up short.
I see. Okay. Now I feel like we're getting somewhere. So you're dealing with some dread of the future. You're questioning whether your contributions will amount to anything. You are struggling to determine what's worth investing in, maybe. Is this sounding right?
Pretty much, yeah.
How old are you?
24.
What do your parents do?
My dad fixes and works on oil pumps. My mom works for a local school system.
Do they seem happy? Do they seem like they've lived lives they're happy with?
They've had some dilemmas themselves.
What do they think about your current dilemma?
They understand, but like, son, I get what you're going through, but you're just gonna have to push through it.
Mm-hmm.
There's days I don't want to push through. There's just days I don't want to leave my bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah, that is serious if you can't get out of bed. It makes me wonder what do you what is your work ethic like? Are you willing to have you come to the understanding that work is there's a reason you're paid for work? Might seem like an insensitive question, but people don't make money for working because they love what they do. In fact, less than 1% of people actually achieve something like that. And for them, those people experience different things. Those people experience the disillusionment of ruining something that they love to do with capitalism. And that's something that you can hear interviews of celebrities talking about hours on end on YouTube. I mean, and you could go on an endless wormhole of celebrities talking about existential dread. Last stream we were talking about Robin Williams. How many people did that guy make laugh? How many laughs was that guy worth? Was something we were talking about. And the way Robin Williams' life ended was so tragic and unexpected. So many of these people that we celebrate internationally are also struggling with the same exact disillusionment that you're facing right now, with the exception that they're worth billions of dollars sometimes. So, go ahead.
It's funny you say that. One person that kind of inspired me was Steve-O from Jackass.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, again, like years ago, he was a drug addict. He took all kinds of drugs. And, of course, the Jackass guys had to get him out of it. Hey, you need to get help. And look at him now. He's sober. He's happy, essentially. And I want to find that happiness.
Right.
I know it's kind of oxymoronic because I brought up cannabis. I don't want you to think, okay, but you brought up that, and what does this have to do with? And
no, that's not what I'm thinking at all. To be clear, I mean, I wasn't pressing back on the cannabis thing because because you weren't.
Which I kind of apologize. I don't know how that kind of fit into my conversation, but
That's okay. No problem. So, yeah, I mean, what I would say to you is that what you're going through is, in my opinion, and I don't want to be harsh, but in my opinion, it's a very normal thing to go through. You are realizing that you're realizing a bunch of things, it sounds like. You're realizing that this thing you've invested in, studying journalism, is not ultimately what you want to do with your life because you don't believe in it for whatever reason.
because sorry, go ahead.
Now, what were you going to say?
Because my mom got her degree in education and she worked in it for a little while as a student teacher, but she hated it. She wanted nothing to do with it, and she changed paths and she's happy now. I mean, she's changed paths sometimes, but she's happier now that she's working for the school system.
What if...
Like not teaching wise, but just helping students basically.
I see. What drew you to journalism first?
Well, I originally wanted to make movies and write movies, and when I graduated community college, I went to the school in my state. They don't do film, but they do journalism, and I thought, okay, I'll just go down that route and see what happens there. And it's not what I thought it would be.
I see. Well, journalism is a public service. People, it ought to be a public service. It's not so much a public service anymore. Journalism is a dying art. People are, the news is something that is really struggling right now because there's so much clickbait and there's so much inaccurate reporting. It makes me wonder, would you enjoy journalism if you could help change it, if you could help save it? Or are you just completely disenfranchised with what you've been studying? Would you ever be interested in journalism if you could help change it?
Honestly, no. Even before going into journalism, I was very skeptic about both sides of the news, and I'm just like, I might as well just get my news elsewhere because these people are just, biased. They're just trying to blow something up and whatever. And I just I want nothing to do with this. What I'm trying to say.
Again, it would be no better in entertainment. I mean, even if you're Aaron Sorkin, actually maybe not if you're Aaron Sorkin at this point, but if you're a screenwriter, even if you're an established screenwriter, you go to the studios with your script, they're gonna want you. They're gonna want to exploit you in the same way that a major media outlet would want to exploit a journalist, a compromised media outlet, I would add. But it's the same. It would be the same thing. That's kind of what, in my opinion, and I'm not arguing with you. I want to be very clear. I'm not trying to be right. I'm not trying to prove you wrong. I'm just trying to walk this out with you based on what you're sharing. And my sense is, based on what you're saying, because so much of it's focused on the fact that you're disenfranchised with studying journalism and what journalism has become, it's not much better in Hollywood. It's not much better at these studios. There's lots of exploitation. There's you write the perfect draft of your script, and then they want to change 20 things about it that are so inconsequential. They want to just change the dumbest stuff. There's actually a great story that I heard from, this is a story told to me by one of the lead writer of Full House, who was we worked on a show together in the early 2000s, and he told me, he's now retired, and I think he lives in Paris, Rob Dames. If you're listening, Rob Dames, shout out to you, good sir. Thank you for your service. What a legend that guy is. He once told me this story about, it's a classic Hollywood tale of this young, promising writer moves to Hollywood. He has this promising script, and the studio says, it's a great script. You're showing a lot of promise. We want to give the dog in your story a name, and we want him to speak English. and we want him to tell jokes, and we want him to be really funny. And the writer, desperate for an opportunity, succumbs to the pressure and agrees to make these really dumb changes. And then the movie goes to theaters. It totally flops. Nobody in the audience understands why this dog is telling jokes in English. It just is completely unjustified and unwarranted. And then the writer is out of work, and the studio executives still have their jobs. They're still making their salary at these studios. And at the next board meeting, they all just muse about, wow, remember that one writer that showed so much promise? Yeah, whatever happened to that guy? What went wrong with that guy? My point is that there's an element of working that is, depending on who you're working for, it's pretty far-reaching, but more often than not, something will be exploited for in a way that makes the original creator unsatisfied. And so I'm not sure if you've considered that, but at your age, I would feel really irresponsible if I didn't at least bring that up.
No, right.
So, because I would love to hear that you have invested yourself in something that you actually believe in. I hear it in your voice. You're really unmotivated. You feel I sense a lack of motivation. I sense that you are disenfranchised, and I'm trying to pep you up. I'm not trying to drag you down. I'm trying to help you find that spark. I'm trying to help you find something that you would be fine with, no matter what it is. Whether it's journalism. I mean, you clearly have a motivation for stories. And I'm trying to be really careful because I'm not going to give you career advice on a short call. I think that would be wildly irresponsible of me. But I'm...
And again, I don't expect you to.
Okay, great. So what do you think is more alluring about screenwriting than being a accurate and reasonable journalist? Is it just that you want to tell fiction, or is it that you're afraid you'll be exploited? You'll be forced to exploit facts and spin them in ways that aren't helpful to viewers, or what is it specifically?
I just have all these interesting stories that I want to tell, and I write in my spare time. I never finished an actual screenplay, but I have all these ideas. Like, I had an idea for a sci-fi film. I've had an idea for a period drama. I had my own idea for a Batman movie and all that stuff. And
I see. So I sense, it might be incorrect, but I sense that what you're actually up against is you need some motivation. You need some helpful steps to apply yourself in ways you feel will bring out the best in you, and in ways that will excite you and that you can be passionate about. Are you familiar with the book we've covered at least 50 times on this stream at this point, Atomic Habits? Are you familiar with that book, or have you heard us talk about it? I think it would be a good book for you to read.
I've never heard of it.
Okay. I sense you got to read this book. Not sure how good. Are you a good reader?
Yeah.
Okay. It's by James Clear. Let me find the Goodreads link for you, and I'll put it in the chat. This book is wildly successful. It came out not too long ago in, I want to say 2016 or something. Okay, 2018, by James Clear. I'm putting this Goodreads link for you in the chat. We've had a bunch of people in our community read this book. I've recommended this book to a lot of callers, and there's a bunch of people in the Discord server that we have, the Discord community, going through this book together right now. So it might be a good read for you. It might be great for you to read it alongside the other people in our book club channel in the Discord community. There's a lot of people reading this book looking for similar things that you are, and it might be helpful for you to read it. And it's called Atomic Habits because it it gives you these small practical steps towards progress, whatever progress you're working towards in your life, and these small steps build into explosive results. It's kind of a clever play on atomic that they use, because it's like atomic particles are the makeup of everything, and then it's also there's a reason we call atomic bombs atomic bombs. They're explosive. They're like wildly explosive and dangerous. So it's a very clever book title, but it's much more than that. It's actually it's been a wildly successful book. I think they've sold over 1 million copies since 2018. So I'm really curious. Would you read that book?
I can look into it now that school is out for the semester.
Okay. If you don't want to read it, there is an audiobook. I've not heard the audiobook. I'm pretty particular about audiobooks, so I can't recommend that you listen to the audiobook. But if you're really hell-bent on not reading it, you could pop some headphones in and listen to it while you're doing dishes or folding laundry or driving your car. I really, I'm not just pulling that out of nowhere. I really think you ought to read this book, because I sense that I see where you are. I was 24 once. Many years ago, I was 24, and it's a real dilemma you have. Like you're trying to build your life from the ground up, and you don't want to misstep. I think it's wise that you have identified that you're studying something you're not passionate about. And I feel like this book would really help you in determining what you're going to pursue. And it won't only help you in determining that, it'll help you form small steps towards your goals in a way that, honestly, like I can't think of another book like this. There's a reason it sold 1 million copies in 4 years. So I'm giving it a big sell to you. I make no money on this book. I just think, it'd be a great book for you to read.
Okay.
Would love to get a positive update from you on how this is going. Are you in our Discord server, or would you call back sometime and update us on the progress?
I can call back sometime.
Great. Well, best of luck to you on your journey. I want to encourage you, as a closing thought, to chase whatever it is in life that gets you out of bed in the morning. You mentioned you were struggling with getting out of bed. That's serious. I hope you know that. So whatever it is in life, whether it's journalism or screenwriting or, anything, whatever gets you out of bed in the morning, do that. And Atomic Habits is a great resource to get you started on that path.
Okay.
Thanks for calling tonight. Call back again anytime.
Okay, thanks for bearing with me on this one.
Of course. Take care of yourself. Be good to yourself.
You too.
Good night. All right, guys. Lines are opening again. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hi.
Hi. What you want to talk about?
So my girlfriend recently broke up with me, and I feel like there's just a lot of context necessary for it, because I know that I'm relatively young at only 24, turning 25, but I do feel like she was the one, which I know sounds kind of crazy, but she was just dealing with a lot of pressure with a new job and a new move. And if I'm being quite honest, she was, she's in a relationship right now currently for 7 years, but it's one of those where she's very much given up on it, because it wasn't, he's cheated on her, he's done a bunch of stuff, and she's kind of just shut down emotionally to him. And when she and I met, this has been, 9 months ago, everything kind of just clicked. And with all these changes, it was actually earlier today that she officially broke it off, and it wasn't malicious or anything. And her reasoning, it was just that she just has so much on her plate that she's kind of just emotionally shut down, and she just can't handle like a real genuine relationship.
She said she can't handle a genuine relationship?
Yeah, like I mean, I have our messages pulled up because it's been a long distance thing. It's she says, you know, I feel as if I just like being alone and not having commitment to anything. I'm just over it. It's too much. Everything is a lot.
Well, I want to be careful because you're real. It sounds like you're reeling from this, but if those were her exact words, that would almost make me feel better because I mean, she's saying she can't commit to you. Like you, again, like I want to be sensitive because I understand you're going through the experience of being the one who she couldn't commit to. But on the same hand, like if she couldn't commit to you, is there a way that you could see that as progress? At least for now, like we don't know what the future holds. Maybe she goes off for a year or two and uh, gets her gets her stuff together, and she comes back and is like, I made a huge mistake. Like I was, I was happy with you. Or maybe maybe nothing changes, and maybe you meet someone else. You mentioned you're in your early 20s. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm 24, turning 25 in July.
Okay. Um, does it make you feel any better asking yourself why, what would be causing you to uh, hang on to this person that doesn't want to commit to you, or does that make it worse?
I mean, I've always been the kind of guy that tends to, I guess, think of things from a lot of different angles. So I thought about it, you know, like, oh, hey, you know, she's in a very, like, just not a dark place, but she just has so much pressure on her that it's not like me. It's very much just not a good time, and I understand that, and it makes me feel a bit better. But then it's also like I do like there's just this connection that I couldn't, that I just never experienced before, and I just couldn't fathom ever experiencing before until now. That it's just like that fear, I guess, of it not eventually happening again, of not having that having it kind of loop back around
With this girl specifically, or with anyone?
with this girl specifically.
Sounds like you really loved her. Sounds like
Yeah,
you
I
really do
mean,
love her still.
absolutely. And it doesn't, it's, there's a bunch of just random small stuff that's happened. Because, I mean, I mentioned that it's obviously their relationship with this other guy, that's still technically going on, even if she's just kind of disconnected from it. And um, it's, it's very much, it felt like a second job to her, I'd say, where she kind of just shows up, does the minimum, and he's kind of just oblivious of the fact that he's kind of just lost her years ago. And then add on top that she got a new job that is completely opposite side of the country. And it's, I mean, the good thing is that it is like contract based. So it's like it ends in this June. And I kind of have like this small hope that once this contract ends, um, she will have like that little bit less pressure, and she'll be able to like just think a little bit more clearly and kind of herself after that. But I mean, that's I don't know.
So what's the deal with this other guy? You've alluded to this other guy. It sounds like he was before you, and then you met this girl. What's the relevance of this guy? What's his deal?
So her and this guy have been dating for 7 years. Um, very much like before, like he was the best person that she's dated up to that point. She's very much been like dated a bunch of abusive people, abusive exes, kind of like emotionally, physically, all that kind of stuff. Was treated very much like trash. And when they first met, it was like, you know, a change. Like this guy actually treated her well and helped her kind of get her stuff together mentally, and kind of helped her heal from a lot of that past trauma. Um, and then a few years into the relationship, she found out that he had been cheating on her for about 6 months with their dog walker. Um, and her being from a different country entirely, she was visiting family outside the country. she almost like didn't even come back on the flight back afterwards when she legitimately debated just never coming back to the U.S. after that. Just kind of like, I'm leaving, I'm done with that life, I'm gone. But she felt so much guilt that she did go back, and they've been together since for 4 more years. But ever since that point, it was just like, oh, he's just another person that should end up hurting me anyway. So she's kind of just emotionally shut down, and there's very much like a she's she's content with where she's at, not content happy, but kind of content, like I give up content until she met me at that point at least.
I see. Well, I'm gonna be really honest. Stories like yours are so complicated for me because there's so much mystery. There's so much nuance. There's so many possibilities here, and I don't want to say something that would uh, send you down a bad path or get you thinking in an unhelpful way. You know, I don't know this girl that you're trying to get over. I don't know if she was. Uh, it sounds like she was taken advantage of. Sounds like the guy that we've spent most of this call talking about this guy. It seems like at least he's been a part of every beat point in the story, and that raises some red flags to me. Like why is she talking to you so much about this relationship that she was in? That fact combined with the fact that she is now ghosting you and saying she can't commit to you, even though you sound like a really nice guy. You sound like a really sweet, thoughtful guy. I can hear it in your voice how torn up you are about this. Like, wouldn't most girls just be over the moon to have a guy like you caring this much about the relationship? And why can't she commit to you? So, like, I'm not asking you to answer any of these questions, but these are the questions running through my head. And the answers to all of these questions could mean dozens of it could be so many different things. And I'm holding back even saying what I'm thinking because again, I don't want to influence you negatively or get you thinking in an unhelpful way. And I am so sorry that you are so torn up about this. I mean, I can hear how upset you are. I can hear how much this is weighing on you. So I guess I would start by just saying how unfortunate that is and that I'm sorry you're there because I do sense that you're a genuine person that really cares about this girl. And I'll repeat it. Like there are so many women out there that would love to have a guy like you caring this much. And I'm not saying that this girl, this one that got away, is not worth caring about because who knows? Like I said earlier, maybe she comes back in a couple years and is like, look, I was not in the best place. I made a horrible mistake breaking up with you. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. Or maybe you meet someone else tomorrow that you have a way better situation with, and this girl fades into this woman becomes a distant memory. We don't know what life will serve us. It's a constant surprise what life serves us. And I don't know what you need. I don't know what you need specifically. I don't know what you need to hear. But I'm really sorry that you're so torn up about this. What would make you feel better? What would make this a good call? How would you like to use the chat and me?
I mean, I just kind of like I'm not quite sure honestly because I mean that's like the relationship stuff is kind of its own deal, but on top of it, I'm like very used to people kind of just like a revolving door in my life. Someone will come in, someone will leave, someone else will come in, someone else will leave.
I see.
So having like, and then being on top of that, like, as a very kind of emotionally open person, it kind of, I'm just very open in that sense. So it's just like, I guess I'm unfortunately used to having people coming in and out, and I was very tired of that, and it genuinely felt like for the first time that this wouldn't be the case with this girl, and it kind of is now. And I mean, the like I had some sort of context or anything. She and I actually called earlier today because I mean it just happened this morning, and like we still agreed to like talk and everything and kind of just be like we used to without necessarily commitment aspect of it. Of, you know, hey, we're not officially dating. It's just let's just talk like we used to and just see what happens from there. Um, we had just we got like a little 30-minute call, and at the end of it, she kind of just said, "Oh, I gotta go. Bye, I love you." And I instinctively just said, you know, "Hey, I love you too." And then at the end of the call, I just kind of sat there like, "Wait,
Oh, interesting.
what's going on?" Like I don't know if that was like if she genuinely meant it or she just kind of just said it instinctively, and then I just I don't know.
Sounds like she was testing you. Sounds like. I don't know what you do with that. Again, you're getting at things that I can only speculate on, but these are confirming some suspicions I had from some facts you shared earlier. You mentioned that this is becoming a pattern in your life, that people tend to come in and out like relationships are a revolving door for you, you mentioned.
I mean, I didn't even mean like relationships specifically, like friendships, like even family and whatnot. Like I just don't have very long-term connections with just people in general.
Is it you that leaves, or is it the other people that leave, generally?
Earlier, I mean, when I was younger, it was definitely me. I felt like I was always trying to find like somewhere where I fit in perfectly. And it wasn't until I realized like, hey, I tend to be just kind of, I kind of am very malleable, I guess. Like I can fit in with like a bunch of nerdy people. I can talk about all that kind of stuff. I do have taste in like vast taste in like music kind of stuff. I realized that I didn't belong to any one specific group. That, you know, everyone was always toting about in high school and whatnot. It was very much I can't talk to anybody. So as I got older, it was very much I'm just talking to anybody and everybody. And yeah, I can have that rapport, but then it seems to never last long.
You are sounding more and more to me like an empath. Are you familiar with that term, being an empath? Or
I've heard the term, but I've never, I guess, officially looked up what it meant.
it's empath is the noun form of empathy. So it's a person that tends towards empathy in relationships. It's the exact opposite of a psychopath, essentially. So this is why so many narcissists are attracted to empaths, because an empath is a steady flow of narcissistic supply because they're empathizing, and that's what a narcissist wants. They want free empathy. They want a free lunch of empathy, and they want it all the time. And so often, I'm reporting work done by many psychologists here, including one of my favorites, Dr. Ramani Diversala. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but her work might be insightful for you to look into at least. Maybe it's totally off base. It might be. But based on what you're sharing, it would at least, and because of the amount of distress you're under with this, and how frequent it seems like it is, that this happens, like it seems like this is a bit of a pattern and you're looking for something more. I am curious if maybe, and I can't answer the question for you. This would be work you would have to do on your own to get the answers, of course. But I am curious. It's making me wonder if you're an empath who is being serially exploited by mentally unwell people. And I wonder what you think when I say that.
I mean, I would, for some people, I definitely agree, but I don't know about all.
Yeah, I'm not saying everybody's mentally unwell, to be very clear. I'm not saying we live in a world of narcissists
Yeah,
and that they're all
yeah,
exploiting you, just to be very clear. But you
yeah.
mentioned it was a pattern. So I'm thinking of books I'm thinking of the work of Ramani Diversala when you're telling this story. I'm thinking of the work of Amir Levine in Attached. We have so many callers. I would say the most common issue we've had on this stream so far has been people in exploitative relationships, or people dealing with unhealthy attachment styles in relationships. That would probably be the most common one. We also have a lot of people calling in with other things like porn addiction and people who are depressed or suicidal. But this relationship thing is like, I cannot tell you how many times we've we have, I should be getting paid by Dr. Ramani Deversala at this point because we have sent so many customers to her. I just, you're talking to somebody who has been exploited by a lot of narcissists. For the first 30 years of my life, I did not understand what a narcissist was. I thought it was just a word someone threw around, that people threw around. And it wasn't until I was around, it was like in my late 20s, I discovered a bunch of books by different psychologists on narcissism, and I started doing a bunch of reading, and it changed my life. It changed my life, this reading. And I'm trying to be very careful because I could be totally wrong. Like, you might read this and be like, yeah, this isn't me. I wasted my time on the phone with Julian. But I'm not alone, at least. Like, the chat is echoing this, which is why I'm kind of leaning into it a bit more. In fact, I want to highlight something KO from the chat said to you earlier, if I can find it. They said, she said, I believe her name is Katie. She said, where is it? What'd you say, KO? It was so insightful. I'm struggling to find the actual comment, but she said, it sounds like you're investing so much into your relationships, and you deserve to find somebody that's going to invest back into you in the same way and to the same extent. That was the sentiment. I'm mincing their words. But I am seeing things in the chat like that, and as I'm seeing these things come in, I'm realizing I'm not the only one thinking it, and I'm hearing these new details of the story you're sharing, and I hear in your voice that you're really torn up about this. Like, you have to be you've got to be an empath, is my guess. Because I can tell you really care. You wouldn't be calling in here sharing these specific details about your story if you were not really invested in this person. You told me that you spoke today with her, and she said she abruptly said she had to go and said she loved you, and that you instinctively or in a reflex said, I love you too, and then you just sat there after she hung up and were kind of tormented by how that ended. And I apologize if I don't want to lead you into thinking any of this is true, but I am hearing somebody that is dealing with a pattern of unfair treatment in relationships, and that you're struggling to find your place. And I feel like reading. If I recommend 2 books, will you read them and then update us if it was helpful?
Yeah, I mean, I'd absolutely give them a try. I was going to say, someone had mentioned, like, you and someone in the chat had mentioned, like, the revolving door aspect and everything, and, like, I absolutely agree in terms of I definitely always have given more in relationships than I've ever received. And this was the first one that it never felt like that. It felt like we were just constantly in step. You know, everything that I did, she reciprocate, and it was very much like an equal back and forth, and it never felt like I was being overwhelming or I was being drained or anything. It always just felt right. And that's what makes it even, I guess, harder, and makes me unsure of what to do next, because I mean, it's like a revolving door. You know, I'm used to people going out. I've learned to kind of move past it eventually. This is just the first time where I'm just unsure.
I see. So it sounds like your point is that this relationship with this girl did not seem exploitative. It felt natural. You did not feel drained. Is that right?
Yeah. Which, I mean, I've been in plenty of relationships before, and that did feel like that. So I've learned to spot them as early as I can and move past it. And I've even learned to spot when I've kind of become overbearing and start asking too much of people, and have learned when to pull back. But it's just, I never had any of those kind of signs or any of those feelings when it came to her.
Well, to challenge that, not to argue, but I guess to argue with you for your own sake, arguing for you, not against you, I would say that I'm hearing conflicting things. Like, you said that you didn't feel exploited in the relationship, but then you said that, I mean, it sounds like there was a lot of oversharing about this former boyfriend that this girl had for 7 years. It sounds like you know way more than average about her relationship, and then she abruptly hung up on your last phone call with you after breaking up with you. She broke up with you abruptly, and then she hung up with you abruptly after it seemed like she was trying to make amends, but then she hung up on you and then got an I love you out of you. And I don't know, like that just, that makes me feel really, like, it makes me angry on your behalf. It makes me feel like that's an injustice.
Well, just to clarify a couple of things, it might make things worse. This previous relationship, she's still actually technically in it. She's just kind of been like a comatose state when it comes to her relationship for a few years now. Like they're still in a relationship. I was just kind of like, I just came out of the blue, and she and I hit it off, and it was just like she actually felt something for a person for the first time in a while. It wasn't just, well, this is the best I'm gonna get. I'll just sit here and take whatever hands I have, or take whatever the hand I have. And as for the call earlier, it wasn't really much to make amends. It was just kind of like it was just a casual call. It was just kind of I don't know, just like a catch up.
A casual
for amends or anything.
A casual call where she told you she loved you and then abruptly hung up, even though she's got a boyfriend. I'm just putting together that she's still with this guy. So, and the chat's a little confused about that too. Was she cheating with her boyfriend with you?
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, that's a major red flag to me. Does her boyfriend know about you?
Not that I know of. I'm assuming not.
Man, I guess I just feel like you deserve so much better than this. Like you, yeah, I don't even feel like that. I know you deserve better than this because I can hear the authenticity in your voice. I can tell how badly you want someone to reciprocate with you evenly. I know you used that word earlier. You said the relationship with this girl was reciprocal, but it doesn't sound like it actually is. It sounds like she was going around a partner she's had for 7 years to be with you. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying shame on you or that's like completely besides the point. My point is that you deserve so much better than to be some side piece, than to be someone she's going to, I mean, it just seems like she's treated you so unfairly. I mean, she told you that this was the most meaningful relationship she's ever had, but then she said she couldn't commit. She wasn't ready to commit. And then she abruptly ended your call today with an I love you. And you told me, you volunteered to me that you said it back. You said, I love you, but I love you too. And then you sat there after the call ended wondering what that meant. That makes my heart break for you. Like, you definitely deserve better than what she's treating. I would not say that's reciprocal at all. It sounds like you are, sounds like she doesn't see what she has in you, fully at least. And that's what makes me wonder about, it's making me wonder about, gosh, I gotta be really careful because even if I were qualified to diagnose people, I would not be able to do it on a short phone call like this. Like I wouldn't be able to, nobody can diagnose someone's girlfriend through an account or a story about the girlfriend. But
yeah, and especially with there'd be so many more details I would have to mention, and
right.
Yeah, I don't expect you to diagnose anybody already.
Right. But this is the joke with psychology, is that their psychologists have this hilarious joke that they've done all this research on narcissism, all to find that narcissists actually don't practically exist because none of them will come in and get diagnosed. And it's a great joke because it's true. I have known, I can probably count on two hands the amount of narcissists that I've had to, I could probably count on 3 or 4 hands how many narcissists I've had to navigate relationships with in my life. And some of them are what you call a grandiose narcissist, which is kind of the bread and butter of narcissism. It's like what everybody considers, like, your Corella DeVille, your Tyler Durden, like it's just this like grandiose narcissist. It's like clear as day, like clearer than the sun at noon. Like this person does not care about anybody but themselves. But then there's all these much more subtle flavors of psychopathy, like covert narcissism. Covert narcissists are covert. Like you can be in a relationship with not even a romantic relationship. I'm talking like just you could be a friend or family member and not understand that you're dealing with a narcissist because they're covert. They're really crafty. They're very good at concealing their tactics, and they're still exploiting you, and you don't know it. And again, I'm trying to be very careful. I can't diagnose anybody. I'm not qualified to, and this is a short phone call. But it does. There are so many. I just feel like you got to read this book to at least know. At least you can put it to bed. At the very least, you read it, and I'm wrong, and you're not dealing with somebody who's exploiting you. But I just tell that you're looking for answers. And I'm just trying to echo back to you what I'm hearing. And what I'm hearing is that you're in an exploitative relationship where this girl is cheating on her boyfriend of 7 years to be with you, and doesn't sound like he knows who you are. Doesn't sound like she was going to ever commit to you. It sounds like, it sounds very suspect to me that she would call you today and hang up the call abruptly with an I love you and expect reciprocation. And especially it seems suspect considering how you painted with your words, how you were sitting there after and thinking about it. I mean, that sounds, and again, I want to be very careful because I'm not railing you at all. Like I'm trying to help you process what you're, I'm trying to have a conversation with you and help you get these feelings out and think, and we're thinking about it together. So I'm not saying you've done anything wrong, to be very clear. But I guess I just think like, yeah, I think you're right. You need some answers on what you're dealing with because it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair to you. And you seem like a person, you seem like you're definitely the kind of guy any girl would love to be with. Like this is what, how many romantic comedies are there about women looking for guys that just care, So I want to see you get that. I feel like you deserve that.
I mean, it'd be nice, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, again, if I recommend 2 books, will you read them?
I'll absolutely give them a shot. I mean, even if, like you said, they aren't correct in the slightest, that's something that I can cross off the list metaphorically speaking.
Okay. Do you know Dr. Ramani Diversala? I've used her name a few times. Do you know who she is?
No, besides what you were saying, nothing about her.
Okay. She's like she's got to be at this point the world's leading expert on narcissism specifically. Not all psychopathies, but like I like to say she wrote the book on narcissism. Literally, she wrote this book, the one I'm about to send you. So I'm going to put this in the chat for you. Should I Stay or Should I Go is the name of the title by Dr. Ramani Diversala. There might be some typos. I'm typing fast. That book is unbelievable. It's specific to breaking up with a narcissist, but it doesn't have, just in case there's people listening, there's been so many people in these streams who are dealing with narcissists. This book is helpful whether you're dating a narcissist or married to one or the child of one or friends with one. So it's the artwork is very there's probably actually better artwork for it. Like I bet you they'd sell a lot more books if they didn't make it so romantic looking. There's like lipstick kiss on the artwork, and it looks very romantic. I think it's applicable in your case, but don't be fooled by the artwork. It's very much helpful no matter what kind of relationship you're dealing with a potential narcissist. The other book I would love for you to read is a book called Attached by Amir Levine and Sarah Heller. And it is a book that explains attachment style theory. Are you familiar with that term?
No, it doesn't sound familiar.
It's basically this is a pretty scientific book that it's like a scientific breakdown of attachment styles in relationships, like how you're attracted to people, and it's kind of a workbook. Like, it's not a book you just read and then you finish. It's like there's some questionnaires that you participate in answering, and then there's some tables of data that you can sift through for different situations, and they help you identify your relational style. And again, these are PhDs, the people who wrote this book. I'm pretty sure they're PhDs. Am I right about that? Pretty sure they're PhDs. This book has I'm looking at the Goodreads. It has 44,000 ratings on Goodreads, and it's like 4.5 stars. This is a very well-known book. Okay, Amir Levine is an MD. He's an MD, neuroscience researcher at Columbia University. Not a PhD. I was wrong about that part. But he, very, very impressive book. Again, it's going to require a little work for you to get through. It's not just it's not an easy read. And I would not recommend the audiobook for this one. I would recommend reading it physically. The Should I Stay or Should I Go book is a good audiobook. You could listen to that one if you want a mental break and an easy read. You could listen.
Yeah.
I think that one's good. I'm putting attached for you here in the chat. You can go to the chat from this part of the call and find those book recommendations. My friend, my heart breaks for you, because I hear where you are, and you're still young. Like, you're not only at the time of life where you're trying to figure out relationships, you're also, and we never really master relationships. I believe that's we never master anything, is what I'd say. But like, you're at a time of life where you're naturally questioning a lot of things in your mid-20s. So, I think it's really good that you're asking these questions, and I think it's really healthy the way you're processing this. I'm so sorry to hear how dismissively you've been treated in relationships. I would say that's not fair. I think that you sound like a really sweet person that pours a lot of yourself into a relationship, and I don't hear that this woman that has broken up with you is being reciprocal. It sounds like she doesn't understand the catch she has on the line with you.
I appreciate that.
But again, I know you're still reeling, so I want to be very careful that you don't think I'm railing you or telling you to do a better job or something, because that is not.
No, I get that. I do.
I just want you to get what you're after. It's got to be so frustrating.
A little bit, yeah. By a little bit, I mean a lot.
Right. Well,
But I do appreciate just the conversation. At least sometimes it just feels like it's just really loud, and being able to just say something out loud kind of gets that noise out, clears things up a bit.
right. Well, I'm glad you feel a little bit better. It'll probably take you time it takes time to get over a breakup, so I can tell you're still feeling everything. Again, I'm not pretending I can fix anyone. I don't expect you to make some massive transformation here on the phone with me, but I've recommended a couple books that I think the attached book, I think if you read one of them, I would say read Attached, only because you mentioned that this is somewhat of a pattern where you're not really, you're kind of struggling to find meaningful relationships in general. Attached would be a really helpful book. I think that's probably my number one recommendation based on what you're saying to read.
Mm-hmm.
And then Should I Stay or Should I Go? If you are indeed dealing with people who are exploiting you, if that's indeed what's happening, then in that case, I would say the number one recommendation would be Should I Stay or Should I Go? But again, I can't diagnose someone, so I don't know what it is you're dealing with practically. So I'm trying to be careful. But I think they're both. I mean, Should I Stay or Should I Go is a much more enjoyable read. I love that book. I've read it a couple times. And Attached is a little bit more work to get through. Like, you got to do some work to get through it. Should I Stay or Should I Go feels good to read, and Attached is almost, it's like you're kind of shrinking yourself. You're kind of like using the book to shrink yourself a little bit. So it's a little more grueling,
Okay.
but they're both
Yeah.
amazing books.
Well, I'll definitely look into them. At least attached, because even though it is like the workbook, it's more broadly cover relevant things.
Right.
I do appreciate it, though. It really means a lot.
I appreciated the conversation. I'm glad you called in. Yeah, enjoyed chatting with you. Would love to hear a positive update from you. Will you give us a call back in the future, or join our Discord and give us an update there?
Yeah, I feel actually just joined the Discord. This is the first time I actually came to the stream. I've been subscribed for like ages, so I'm kind of surprised and joined up earlier.
Well, I'm glad you tuned in tonight. I'm glad you're here. Glad you called in. And again, I just want to end by saying I think you are a really sweet soul. I can tell you really care about your relationships, and I am rooting for you in finding those relationships worth pursuing. And I'm sorry to hear how dismissively you've been treated. That's not a good feeling. I get that.
Yeah, appreciate it. Have a good night.
Take care. Good night. All right, guys, lines are opening. I am not under the weather, because I don't get under the weather. I don't get sick. But sometimes germs try to get me sick, and I fight them off. I have not been actually sick in years, because I'm so good at fighting them off. But this morning I woke up with a little bit of a sore throat, and I've been fending it off. I feel great now, but I'm coughing a little bit. Sorry. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hey, oh, well, it's you. Hi.
Hi. What you want to talk about?
So, I would like to talk about libido mismatches between my wife and me.
Okay.
So, effectively, I got married about a year ago, in June of last year, and going into it, my wife and I talked about, or my fiance at the time talked about it a lot going into the relationship, that she's effectively asexual and I'm not. And going into it, that was very clear. There was that wasn't hidden. We talked about it a lot. But it's been hard dealing with a feeling of lack of being wanted in the relationship. And it's really, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how to deal with it in the long term, and how to provide her with the space and stuff she needs while also not feeling unwanted.
I see. Sorry to hear about the libido mismatch. That's not easy. How old are you?
I am 22.
Okay. Newly married. You got married about a year ago, it sounds like. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And she was upfront with you. Sounds like while you guys were engaged, she was telling you from the get-go, like, hey, I'm not going to want a lot of sex.
Yes. We talked about it a lot beforehand, and that's like, she's a wonderful person and very communicative. I kind of didn't necessarily expect it to be as hard as it would be to not have her want me in that way.
I see. So you thought it wouldn't be that big of a deal. You thought you could get through it, and now you've been in it for a year, and it feels different.
I thought it would be a big deal. It's just I wasn't expecting it to be as hard, I guess.
I see. So you feel like your relationship suffers?
Well, I don't know. And that's like, everything else is fine. We get along great. We're doing great and everything else. And that's, I sometimes feel like I shouldn't struggle with. I mean, she was very clear about that going in. She was just like, it wasn't a surprise. I feel like I'm wrong for wanting her to want me because of how clear she was. But I don't know.
How often are you having sex?
Every week, every other week.
Every week's pretty good.
Yeah, so she's.
But I don't know. Maybe you're super kinky. No judgment. No judgment from me. I'm just poking around.
What was that?
I said, but there's no judgment from me. Maybe you're super kinky. Maybe you need a lot of sex. No judgment.
And see, that really, she's a very understanding and giving person. The problem isn't so much the sex as so much as the feeling of being wanted. Because even when we have sex, it's enjoyable and fine, but at the end of it, I often don't really feel. I feel like she did it for me rather than for. I've never really felt wanted.
What's your sexual history before the marriage?
I was molested when I was 6 and 0 other experience.
Wow. I'm so sorry to hear about that. My goodness. Have you processed what happened to you when you were molested?
I think so. It's been a while. I definitely didn't process it for a long while. And then after, I didn't process it while I was still living at my parents' house because my parents knew about it but never talked to me about it. It was kind of just something that never got talked about. And then once I moved out of my parents' house, I kind of went through a period of finding myself. Figuring out what stuff actually meant to me, and it definitely became more of for a period of time, it was. I thought about it a lot more and tried to figure out what it meant and how it potentially changes me.
So, were you? I'm poking around because I'm trying to figure out what the situation is. Was there a reason that you had no sexual history before marriage? Was it religious? Was it trauma from the abuse when you were a kid? What was the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, so growing up, my parents definitely were very religious. So for the first bit, I would have said religious. Lately, after moving out, I kind of have moved away from or reevaluated my relationship with religion and have moved away a little bit. And really when that was happening, my wife is, I've only ever even really dated one other person from my wife, and that didn't last for very long, so I guess there wasn't many opportunities, if that makes sense.
Right. So it wasn't that, it doesn't sound like it was your religion that kept you from having sex before marriage, but a lack of opportunity. Is that right?
A lack of opportunity and a question of what it would mean to me long term. Growing up in a Christian household, you kind of get that ingrained in you that it's a big deal. I definitely haven't fully processed what I think of it outside of what I was taught growing up.
Right. To be very clear, Nick Jones from the chat says, once a week, they're commenting on my comment to you about, we got comments on comments here. This is commentception now. But a second ago, I told you that once a week for a married couple is pretty good. At least it's not bad. And Nick Jones says, once a week for 22 seems light, though, JS. Seems like he's putting too much of his security in sex versus her just loving him and wanting him as a human. And to be very clear, when I say 20 once a week sounds decent for marriage, I'm pseudo quoting that adage that if you get married and you put a penny into a jar for every time you have sex in the first year of marriage, and then for the rest of your marriage you take a penny out, you will never take all the pennies out, because sex just after a year, like it can drop pretty low. Now, that's not to say that there are not marriages where, I mean, to be very clear, I'm not challenging you that there's a libido mismatch. I mean, your wife told you she was basically asexual while you were engaged. So I just wanted to be clear that I wasn't trying to poke holes in your story or prove you wrong or something, because that's a difficult experience, not feeling desired by your partner. That's a difficult and very relatable experience, I think, that a lot of people deal with. So I'm not doubting you, just to be very clear. But thank you for that that thought, Nick Jones. I wonder what your sex life was like with your wife before marriage. Did you guys have sex before marriage? I mean, it sounds like maybe you didn't, because it sounds like she was pretty clear that she wasn't really into sex.
Correct. We, before we got married, there was a start of physical intimacy and just touching, but it never got as far as sex.
Have you opened up to her about how difficult this is for you?
Yeah. Yes.
Does she know you're calling in here tonight?
No.
Okay.
That's part of the frustration of this, is because of how clear and open and communicative she's been. I don't want to always, I feel like I bring it up a lot to her, and I don't want her to feel like, it isn't her responsibility to say. I mean, we were both clear into this, going into marriage, what the reality, or that there was going to be some difficulty with and communication, but yeah, I just Easy Cheese asked me, have we ever talked about different love languages? Yes, and that's honestly what makes it harder, is in every other way. She's an awesome girl. I want to. Occasionally, I get frustrated at myself for being frustrated at the difficulties, because I knew this would be, or going into this, it was clear, and I get frustrated that I'm not more okay with it.
Right. Well, it sounds like you really love her, and that, I mean, I don't doubt you love her. You wouldn't have married her if you didn't. It makes me, I have to imagine that that's why it's so hard, because you want to be with her, but you also have this, sexual desire is a real thing. It doesn't mean that your desire is invalid just because she has no desire. I can't fix your relationship. I won't pretend like I can, but I'm happy to explore this problem with you and kick some ideas around. I don't want to mess up your life. I don't want to mess up your marriage. But I do think that sexual desire is if that's something that's really important to you, that's something that's really important to you. And if your wife is asexual, that's really important to her too. So, there are ways people deal with these things. It can look a million different ways. But I'm not gonna recommend that you do anything in particular. Again, because I don't want to mess up your marriage. But I'm wondering, what do you want? You want to have a lot of sex? You want to have sex with a lot of people, or you want to have a lot of sex with your wife, or you're lacking sexual variety, or you just want to have sex 3 times a week, or what is it?
It's more of the feeling of I want her to want to have sex with me, which is, I know, not how any of this works.
Right. Well, it sounds really difficult. It sounds like she doesn't want anyone sexually.
Correct.
I wonder if...
And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
And that's even... She's even expressed to me that she's been surprised that she is okay with being physically intimate with me as much as she has been, because previous to us being engaged, she didn't even want to consider that level of physical intimacy. But yeah.
Do you guys both have each other's virginity, or was she sexually active before you?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to say yes. There was what happened when I was a child, but
right, of course. I don't mean to be
adult. I'm going to say yes for both of us, because I think that's more accurate representation of virginity.
Yeah. For all intents, yeah. Of course, I'm not dismissing that. Of course, that was tragic, but my point is that like you had no intent with what happened to you when you were a kid, and
correct.
Yeah. So that's my only distinction, I guess. But I hear you that you are feeling undesirable. It must. How does that? There's so many ways that I know that can impact people in their day-to-day life. Is this impacting you in your day-to-day life? Feeling undesired?
I think it's mostly not in my date. The only impact is on the sexual part of our relationship. I mean, it doesn't stem outside of that.
So it's not like you are... I've felt undesired in relationships before. Sounds like similar relationships, a similar experience, but not the same experience you're in. And I know that can be a thing that manifests in different ways in your day-to-day life. Like for me, I was depressed for a long time, not feeling desired, not feeling, and the truth is that there are the hard thing about where you are is that people are different, and that's what's so difficult about marriage. Is that I would say the situation you're in is an extremely difficult one, because you have a desire, you have a big libido, and your wife has virtually none. It does sound like she has more desire to be physically intimate with you than she's had with anybody else. So that's got to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't sound like you're getting that itch scratched, and that that does seem problematic. That does seem so. I'm wondering again. I'll ask it again. Like, what does it feel like feeling undesired, and how does it creep into other aspects of your life?
It sometimes makes me feel it makes me feel dirty. It makes me feel wrong that I want something, and it. I don't know. Sorry, I don't have many words.
No, that was good. I can tell you this. I can tell you this much. You are not wrong or dirty for wanting sex with your wife. That is not wrong or dirty. You wouldn't be wrong or dirty for just wanting sex in general. Like, that's a natural tendency we have to, for so many reasons. We love someone. It's like a way that most people express love. It's an intimate expression of love. It feels good. It's how we procreate. It's how we bring tiny humans into the world. And it's a no matter what you make of the world, it's how the human race sustains itself. And so it's not wrong. I want you to hear me say, you're not wrong or dirty for wanting that. You do have a dilemma on your hands, and I wonder to what extent you've talked about this with your wife. I mean, the dilemma you have is I hear in your voice how committed you are to this relationship. You don't want it to end. You love her. I can tell you love her. And it sounds like she really loves you too. So, I mean, you've got a lot going for the relationship. But if there's a libido mismatch, I mean, especially if you've got a big libido, you're not going to feel complete unless you have either some closure on that and you accept it fully, or if you find a solution.
Right there, what you said, accepting it. I think that's more what I'm struggling with, because like I know she can't change how she feels, so I'm more struggling with accepting that she loves me, even though the way that she expresses it is less physical.
So it sounds like you'd be okay with less sex. It sounds like you want to accept this. And okay, so it's not that you're looking for a solution for more sex. It's that you are trying to find acceptance.
Because more sex would be at the cost of her. That's not me getting something and her giving up something isn't how I want our relationship to be built on. I want it to be built on a common ground, and I'm trying. It's been hard to find that common ground because there's a wide field, and we're trying to find that middle ground. And it's most of the time we're good and okay, but every once in a while I feel like I mess up and go and ask too much of her, or I feel like the other way, we're not meeting what I want, and it's hard to find that balance where we're both getting what we need out of it.
So you want to, you don't want a sexual solution here. It sounds like you want. I'm sorry if I'm covering ground you already feel like you've covered, but I'm trying to be very clear. It's not that you want this sexual itch scratched. You want to know how to just let it go. Is that right?
I want to know how to feel loved without that being expressed through sexuality.
I see.
Or I want to know how to appreciate her various ways to show love without feeling like I want, without letting my libido get in the way of her expressions of affection.
Mm-hmm. Well, it makes me wonder if you've read books like The 5 Love Languages or read about the Enneagram. None of this is science, but they are helpful heuristics for navigating relationships. I wonder if you're familiar with things like the Enneagram and the 5 Love Languages.
I've done an Enneagram myself. I don't know if my wife has.
I wonder how that would impact things if you guys went through it together. Do you think your wife would go through it with you? If you're like, hey, look, like I'm working on managing my libido and being able to accept or value more the way that you love me, and can we go through a couple things together as a couple? Like maybe go through that book, 5 Love Languages. Again, it's not none of this is science, but you think she would do that with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And she's also invested in everything that I've told you. If you reversed, I think she would say this. She's also invested in finding us, figuring this out.
Right. Well, I do feel like those two books would be great for you guys to go through together. Excuse me.
5 Love Languages and what?
Let me put these in the chat for you so you can find them easily. I'll give you a Goodreads link. The 5 love languages, and sounds like you're already on top of it, but I'll do it for everybody else too. And then, I mean, you can take the official Enneagram test. I think it's like $12 or something. It's like 150 questions, I want to say. I'm probably not completely, that number's probably not completely accurate, but it's fairly exhaustive. Someone from the chat said Myers-Briggs. That was...
I think maybe the Myers-Briggs is the one I did. I did one of those like online ones a while ago.
Rebecca Burlew suggested Myers-Briggs. Yeah, that Myers-Briggs is helpful. Enneagram's a little more in depth. It's a little more, it's a lot more specific than Myers-Briggs. But I like Myers-Briggs. I like Enneagram, and I do feel like the 5 love languages even it's a very Christian book. You should know that. So at least I remember it to be very Christian. It's very popular in churches, and I remember you saying that you have some unpacking you're doing from religion previously. So, but if you can get through that, it's a great book. So I'm putting this into the chat for you. The 5 love languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts. It's by Gary Chapman. Here is that link. The 5 love languages. And then the Enneagram test. Let's find that test. Official Enneagram test.
EnneagramInstitute.com.
That sounds right. Yes, that's the one I would take. Now, there are free tests that you can find on the internet, but I would take none of those because none of them are clear about the data that they're harvesting on you, and none of them are nearly as exhaustive as the official one. So the official one is definitely worth taking. Enneagram test. And again, I'm sorry, there's probably typos in here. The official Enneagram test. There you go. Yeah, I mean, those would be, it's actually, so when you, I hope I didn't prod you too hard. I mean, when you first started sharing, I feel in hindsight now I was misunderstanding the intent for the call. Now I realize that you seem like you are willing and looking for a way to just accept this in your marriage and to be a better partner for your wife who's asexual. And I think that's really admirable. I think that, there's no right or wrong solution to these kinds of challenges. It just comes down to the couple and who's willing to give and take what. And so I'm really relieved to hear that you already are, you've already got your direction. You already know your direction. You're just looking for some practical steps. And I do think that if that's where you are, those 2 resources might be really good for you. I think that's great.
Cool. I would definitely give those a read, and I'll see if we can both get Enneagrammed. I don't know if that's the verb, but
Enneagram.
Thanks. I wasn't planning on calling in. I just was gonna sit down and play some video games, and then I saw you were live, and I called, and you picked up, and that's weird.
Great. Well, that's what this is for.
Longtime fan, all that stuff.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your support and for using this space. And I wish you the best of luck in your marriage. No marriage is easy. A lot of them are ending right now. COVID has just been so destructive to marriage in at least the United States. It's up 500% since COVID, divorces. And it's... Yeah, so I say that not to depress you, but to I'm just inspired hearing your perspective on all of this. Your story gives me hope, and I'm sure other people who value marriage are inspired hearing what they're hearing. I think you're a very noble person for approaching this the way that you are. I think it's beautiful. Props to you.
Thank you.
Well, take care of yourself. I hope those resources are helpful, and I'd love to get a good update from you. If you...
I'll definitely call back.
Great, call back or join the Discord. It's been hard to connect. We've only successfully connected with people for updates like once or twice on the live stream itself because I answer calls randomly. But I'd love to at least get a good text update at the very least in Discord to see how things were going for you guys. Best of luck to you.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening, man.
Of course. Good night. All right, guys, we are going to do that little thing we call intermission. This gives me about 5 minutes to clear my head, listen a little bit better, and I always joke this is the time that everybody leaves. Never gets old. Never gets old. If you can bear with us for 5 minutes or take a little break yourself, go get a snack or go to the bathroom, whatever you need to do. I don't know what you do. I don't know. You're weird, and I'm not. I'm just going to go take a little break. You're the weird one. I'll be right back. All right, we are back. Thanks to those of you who hung in there with us. All right, lines are open again. Opening. Get your phones ready. All right, calls are coming in. Here we go. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hey, Julian.
Yeah, what you want to talk about?
Oh wow, I didn't think I was gonna get through, but first off, thank you for having me on. I think what you're doing is pretty cool.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, I guess I would just want to talk about how you deal with after sobriety, after you feel like you're actually done, and you don't think you're gonna fall back into the pattern, but there are certain things that can happen to throw you back into it. And I don't know if you have any experience with it, but I just love to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, sobriety from what?
Alcohol.
Okay, you were an alcoholic, is that right?
I like to think I still am, but yeah.
Are you in AA?
I am not, but I haven't drank in over a year or so.
I know you're not supposed to be clear. I know you're not supposed to ask if someone's in AA, but being that this, too, is anonymous, we get 2 layers of anonymity going, so I feel like it's a safe question.
Oh yeah, that's totally fine. But I have tried it via Zoom during the pandemic, and after that, I haven't actually gone into in-person meetings or anything.
So, to be very clear, I have never struggled with the feeling of alcoholism. I've been to some AA meetings. I've had friends in the past who have struggled with alcoholism, and I've gone to AA with them, both out of support for my friends and also out of curiosity for what AA is, because I've heard it's such a positive program, and so I can only speak from I'm useless for advice with your sobriety, but I'm happy to shoot the breeze with you a little bit on what your experience is like and unpack what you're dealing with and just let you think out loud with us here. And I'll highlight some things from the chat. I've already seen a few things pop in. But I'm wondering, first of all, how long have you been sober?
I haven't kept track of how long, but it's been well over a year, I believe.
Congratulations.
And,
over a year. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a huge accomplishment.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, and I guess my question, just to throw it back into that, is it feels stagnant. I've struggled for over 10 years trying to get sober. You get fucked up. You get sober again. You have one beer. Still count that as a relapse. And it's just been a game of up and down. And this past year that I haven't drank, I feel like I finally have the control over it. But it's a plateau feeling that I've never actually experienced because I never got this far in sobriety. And that's, I guess, basically the question, or if anybody in the chat knows or has been through something similar. It starts like bubbling in your head. You go, oh, well, I haven't drank in this long. Maybe I'll be a quote unquote normal alcoholic and I can have one beer. And, it just dominoes into what made you get into the rehab and all that.
Well, That's a fascinating question. It sounds like you're pondering whether you could handle a drink since you've gone so long without one. Is that right?
In a sense, yes. And like I know I could handle one. Like I know right now if I get up and go drive to the store, get a six pack, nothing's gonna happen. I could drink the six pack, wake up in the morning, go to work. Nothing's gonna happen. But even that little step feels like it could go into something deeper. So like how many times can I do that until I fall back into the same pattern?
Well, it's definitely a risky inquiry on your part. I mean, if you were identifying as an alcoholic and you've taken steps to remain sober for over a year, seems like it would maybe be a slippery slope to tip your toe back into that water. Is this something that runs in your family, the alcoholism?
Um, Not really. No, my father barely drank growing up. My mom doesn't drink. It was just basically the scene that I in high school, the friends I made that kind of got me into uh, the whole party scene. But yeah, now that I'm talking about it, I kind of like I acknowledge that it would be a slippery slope getting the beer, but that I guess that is my question. What do people in this same position? What do you do? Because you feel like you have control over it, but it's like it's kind of hard to explain.
I pick up what you're putting down.
Mhm.
My short response, the first thing that's coming to my head is that it's best to to let sleeping dogs lie, and the alcoholism is now a sleeping dog, and uh, I don't know to what extent you were struggling with the drinking. How much do you drink?
On the heaviest, sorry, those are my dogs. On the heaviest moments that I would drink, I'd drink at least um 2 pints of vodka or so, like a couple of double shots, and that would get me kind of settled.
A couple double
And
shots, or a pint?
I mean, if I could, a pint, 2 pints
Two
of
pints
the
of
alcohol, maybe,
vodka.
yeah.
That is certainly a lot of vodka in one night.
Uh, it was possible, yeah. But in the whole week, if I had to just split it apart, it would be mm, uh, two, four, six, six of those pints or so a week at the heaviest that I was doing it.
Deanna Krebs from the chat is asking you what drinking this beer means to you. I guess she means the beer that you're considering going out and getting. What does it mean to you? I think that's a good question.
Um, I was always a fan of like IPA, so just kind of like 805s or some Blue Moons and stuff. But when I was heavy into drinking, was straight vodka. I answered their question and I threw the extra information because beer was the beginning of me drinking it, and I left that and went straight into alcohol.
So is it something nostalgic for you? Is that why you're considering going out and getting another six pack, or is it you want to unwind? What's beneath you wanting to go get beer after over a year of sobriety?
That's the thing. Like I don't have a need. I get. I'll rephrase that. I do have the need because I wouldn't ask the question if I didn't. But I guess it's just a part of my little brain thinks that I could be quote unquote normal drinker, and I can't really let go of that part of it. I can try to pretend like I'm like, all right, well, I was an alcoholic. I am an alcoholic, but I can keep it cool. And I think that right there, that idea is what kind of overshadows everything. And like I guess like a wanting to just be a normal drinker, quote unquote.
How old are you?
I just turned 30 this year.
Okay. I mean, if you have identified as an alcoholic, then you've been sober for over a year. My gut says you would have a beer and then immediately feel this sense of starting over. It sounds like you're curious. Sounds like you want something. Sounds like you're looking for something. That's why I'm asking what's beneath you wanting this drink. Is it, have you replaced the drinking with other self-soothing mechanisms? Or is it, have you just completely cut it out and you're freewheeling it?
I play guitar, and I stopped playing once I got heavy into drinking, and once I cut it off, I fall back into playing guitar. So that's always my vice if it's not alcohol. And I guess to answer your question, why I'm even thinking about drinking is just because of the reason of me feeling like I'm part of the it's not, now that I say it's not, I'm not trying to fit in, but I'm just trying to be able to have a beer and be okay. But I know deep down inside my head the answer is just stay away from alcohol completely. I just don't touch it, and I'll be golden. But if there's anybody listening in the chat or listening to this, it's like I'm sure you guys feel or like kind of get what I'm trying to get at, and what you guys do, what's something that helps you guys like get rid of that feeling of wanting to just, oh, I'll just have a beer, I'll be okay. Like get rid of that feeling because I've been okay for a long time, but it's just been creeping in my mind for the past couple 2 months or so, for like randomly, and I just figured I'd ask.
Is there something in your life you're unsatisfied with that you want to use the drinking for? Or is it you just want to cut loose? Or is it that you resent this need for a mandate of sobriety in your life and that you want to just know what it's like to have a casual drink again? That might be a lot for you to go through. I can do them one at a time if you want, but that's what's going through my head.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it's not that I guess to answer, yeah, I do kind of miss just having that. I just got out of a relationship for like 2 years during the pandemic. Like the drinking did not help that whole relationship, and um, I tried really hard, and the reason I got sober was because of that relationship. But I guess like to make it really quick, there's this one time when I was sober for like 4 months or so. My girlfriend left to the store. I was walking around the neighborhood to just walk her dog, and then I came back. There was beer at the house, and I didn't drink at the time. I got the beer, opened it up, took one sip, put it back down, felt really guilty about it. I put the cap back on, I put it on the table, and I just left it there. And my plan was to tell my girlfriend, hey, listen, I got tempted. The beer was here. I took a sip, but it's here. Fast forward an hour after I did that, I freaked out. I was like, oh no, she's going to get really mad if she sees any beer. So instead of showing her the beer, I got the beer, the cap and everything, tossed it. I threw it away in the trash. She comes home, it's like nothing. She finds the bottle because I just tossed it like an idiot in the kitchen, not trash. she finds it, she asks me, she goes, "Did you drink?" And she was already really pissed, and I told her I didn't. And yeah, we had a real big argument at that point. And then during that argument, I came clean and I told her, "Hey, listen, I did." And I took a sip, I put it back down. I was planning on telling you. I freaked out at the last minute and threw it away. I told her the whole story. And I, it was, I don't know what it was, but I guess she just had it to that point, and she flipped out on me and called my parents and told them that I had relapsed and that I'm drunk at the time. And it was this big scene, and I was trying to be honest at the time. So I told her, like, we can't do this anymore. Long story short, we broke up. But I still have that feeling of I tried really hard, but I don't want to let anybody down, and I want to kind of prove myself. Be like, look, I can have a drink. I can put it down when I want to. I can show you I'm being responsible. But I don't think that's a good thing, but I don't know why I think that.
Right. I hear the conflict.
Sorry for rambling. I just realized that I was rambling.
No. That's good. Fascinating conundrum you're facing. I want to highlight a few things from the chat. Easy Cheesy from the chat says, "Caller, it sounds like maybe you are trying to prove to yourself that you can handle your alcohol, but you have gone a year sober. That is evidence that you have power over it." I think that's a beautiful sentiment. Kirogus, there's so many ways you could pronounce that etymologically. I don't know where that's coming from, that name. They say to you, "I think that you may be at a pivotal point in overcoming addiction, where you begin to tell yourself that you've beaten it when you may not have, and going back to it could be an unnecessary risk." I sense that that's your dilemma already, but I wanted to mention that because that's kind of what I'm thinking too. And then Called Duel 1234 from the chat says, "I have a friend who has been sober for 25 years after beating alcoholism. He has stated he craves alcohol but refuses to touch a drop so he doesn't risk slipping in again." I'm sure these are all things you've heard before. I'm not sure if it's helpful hearing them again here. But again, I am still, I guess, digging a little bit for what it is you're looking for. It sounds like you have found good coping mechanisms. Sounds like you found good self-soothing mechanisms. Like you mentioned, you replaced drinking with playing guitar. That's a great thing you've done. And it sounds to me like you're saying you're just wondering if you can have a casual beer since you've gone so long without it. And the chat and I guess, are standing together. I want to repeat that I've not faced what you're facing. And, I have dear friends of mine that have gone through AA. I'm thinking of a few friends in particular who have been sober for around 25 years. And, some people, I have a lot more friends who've been sober for less time than that, but I know a few people who are so committed to this journey that they've not touched it in over 25 years. And, the reality is, no matter how you look at alcohol, it's not great for you. I'm not recommending that you do anything, but at the very least, there are healthier alternatives to drinking, safer alternatives that are not going to destroy your liver and not going to be mentally addictive, be literally addictive, including things like playing guitar, meditation. It doesn't sound like you're trying to self-soothe with alcohol. It sounds like you are, it sounds like there's this part of you that wants to feel, do you believe do you believe in like normal drinking? Is that what you're chasing? This idea that you can just be like a normal drinker? Because if that's it, if you're trying to prove to yourself that you can just have a casual drink, I would say that like no amount of drinking is healthy. But it's a difficult topic because some people are genetically predisposed to alcoholism, and some people have addictive personalities, and we've not established where this struggle stems from for you. It doesn't sound like you're really clear on that either. So,
it's a crazy thing because I grew up. I wasn't around a lot of people that did hard drugs or drank like crazy or anything like that. It wasn't until high school where I went to parties and we had a couple Four Locos and like shots and the whole thing. It wasn't until after a little bit after graduating where it kind of you just make it into a habit kind of thing. So it's a gradual thing, and like I'm not addicted to anything else, thankfully, thank God. And I tried a lot when I was younger, and none of it stuck. And the thing that I did was drink, and I was like, oh, a bunch of my friends are doing ecstasy and acid and this. I'm just having a beer. Those guys are being crazy, and that was years of that, of me just drinking while other people did harder drugs. So it instilled in my head, I'm like, oh, well, I'm just drinking right here. I'm just getting a buzz. But then after a couple of years, you fall deep into it, and it's a crazy fucking, it's crazy. It's just crazy that you wake up one day and you're like, oh my God, I'm addicted. I'm one of those people I've seen in intervention. I'm one of those people, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's no shame in it. That's why I could say who I am, but I'd rather not. It's the internet. But
yeah, please don't. I'll have to toast you. I don't want to toast you.
Big reason. It's a big reason why I call on. I've been listening to your late night sessions, and I was just doing laundry in the backyard, and I was like, you know what? Let me call and just tell my story. It's not as crazy as a lot of other stories that I've listened to, but it's mine, and it's something that other people are going through too. And
100%.
I know we're not going to come to a conclusion tonight. I know I should not drink, and I'm not going to. But the reason I called it was just voicing that little itch in my head, that little voice. I wanted to talk about that and just throw it out there for anybody else that's struggling. And yeah, I'm rambling again, but that's my story.
I think that's beautiful. Nick Jones from the chat says to you, there's no cure or end to addiction. Even being sober, the thoughts to relapse are there every day. Realizing you are powerless is very important. Going a year is phenomenal. Keep going. I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
And I echo that. I think that's wonderful that you've taken this step in your life and you've identified something you're struggling with. That takes a lot of bravery to take a step like that in your life. You've been brave for over a year now. I mean, I'm not saying you're brave for calling in, although there's some bravery in that too. But like you identified a problem area in your life, you cut it out, and I'm sorry to hear that it ended a relationship for you. That's got to be a lot of weight you carry. We didn't get too much into that, but I think it's an amazing change that you've welcomed into your life. And I'm with the chat. I would say keep going, and I'm glad to hear that that's how you're leaning too. I think that's great, and it's great that you've found some things to replace it with in your life that are actually good for you, like playing music. That's great.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man.
Well, thanks for calling in, and call again anytime. Best of luck to you.
All right, thank you, man.
Good night. Amazing. I feel like we need some applause for that caller. This is actually the first time I've used this sound. That color deserves a standing ovation. Amazing. All right, lines are opening again. Get your phones ready. We've probably got time for 2 or 3 more callers, depending on what's about to happen. We never really know what's going to happen, of course. That's part of the fun of this. What's going to happen? Is anyone even going to call? Hi, thanks for calling.
Hi.
Hi, what you want to talk about?
I am hoping I could talk about some very silly decisions I've made at work, actually.
Sure.
I'll say right away that I'm not looking for career advice, because I know we don't do that here.
Great, thank you.
But basically, I got laid off from my previous job on the 1st of April this year. And I decided that I wanted to go into childcare. So I sent out as many applications as I could, and I had a lot of interviews. One of them was paying a lot more than the average rate, but I wasn't feeling too good about it. Like, in my heart, I felt like the people there were, I don't know how to describe it, rude, I guess. And then there was another job that came up that was paying a lot less, but I felt like their mission was very strong, and the people there were so polite and nice, and I had a lot of talks with my family about it, and everybody that I talked to said either I should go with my heart, or what my dad was actually telling me was that because of the position that my family's in right now, we should probably go with the higher paying one. So I did.
Okay. So you're in a situation now where your boss, it feels like your boss is paying you more than you deserve in exchange for being rude to you.
Kind of. This boss in particular has already talked to me about how they know they don't really have a bedside manner, and that can seem very rude to a lot of people, but, it's just how they talk. It's just part of their personality. They don't really mean anything by it. But the job in itself has become very, very difficult to stomach because the place that I'm working at now is so understaffed. They're taking a lot of shortcuts and probably doing some things that they shouldn't be doing as a business in order to get by. And I just feel really uncomfortable about it in my heart. So I want to look for other jobs, but a part of my personality is that when I go into a new project or a problem or a new job, I want to be the best that I can be at it. So I feel really guilty about wanting to leave, actually.
I see. I think I see. So you feel like you can't be the best at your job because of the environment, and you're wondering if you'd be better off making less money somewhere else.
Yes.
Have you tried confronting your boss when they speak rudely with you? Have you tried saying, enforcing some sort of diplomatic boundary? I mean, it's a boss, so it's tough, but I mean, have you tried saying, like, have you tried subtle boundaries in that way?
That's interesting. I haven't. Partly because I would say I've seen the way that they talk to other people. Just as an example, one of the other staff there had to leave, like, I don't know, 30 minutes early for some appointment she had. Or maybe she always leaves at that time, actually. And the boss came in, said, "Can you stay another 15 minutes?" And the person said very politely, they were like, "No, I'm sorry, I really do have to go." And the boss just stared at him for a second and said, "You really can't spare 15 minutes." And then went on to say things like, "My job is very difficult too, and everybody expects me to be on top of things without taking a break, and blah, 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 blah." And it was just very, very unprofessional, I thought, and kind of inappropriate. So it's like, if this isn't a good person, they are the more experienced staff. How are they going to treat me if I try to set boundary?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, have you tried saying something to your boss like, "Look, I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I'm so grateful for this work. I love being here. If I'm going to be effective here, I know about myself that I need to feel trusted and respected in what I do here. And so, and the way that we're talking, I mean, I'm being explicit now, like maybe you don't need to be this explicit, but like the general sense that I would try to gently suggest would be something like, I want to be effective here for you. I value this work. If I'm going to be effective in this work, I need to feel trusted and respected when I say something. And when you say that, it makes me question that, and it makes me worry that I won't be an effective resource for you here. Have you tried saying something like that to your boss?
I see. No, I haven't. That's very interesting.
You can say it in a totally straight-faced, fair way. You can say it with empathy. You can make it all about the work. You take the pressure off the boss, you take the pressure off of you make it about the work, and you want to be good at the work, and you're not going to be good at the work if you're feeling questioned all the time, and you feel like there's a lack of trust. You can make it about the trust as somebody who's running a lot for them, it sounds like.
I feel like a lot of responsibility has been thrown on my shoulders very, very quickly because of how understaffed we are. And frequently, I'll get moved from room to room doing different things, kind of as a floater instead of as a permanent staff in one office space working on one project. I'm going around to multiple places because some people are out sick, or what's happening a lot is that some people come in, see how difficult the job is, think that it's not for them, and then they just quit.
Right.
But I want to be in this field of work. It's just not what I expected, and I think the reason for that is because this particular location doesn't really have all their ducks in a row. And that worries me because I don't know, like maybe they'll make a big mistake and they'll have to lay off more workers or something like that, like what happened at my last job. Because I don't want all of the mistakes that happened at my last job to happen again, because I really, really enjoyed that job.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's start with the positive stuff. You are making good money, sounds like. So I guess I side with your parents a little bit, or whoever it was that was telling you to value that you're making good money comparatively to what you'd make elsewhere. So, if there's any salvaging that work, if there's any salvaging the relationship with your boss and making it something productive, I would fight that to the death. My general philosophy with situations like that is that I was in a similar situation before with a client that did not conduct themselves very respectfully with certain people on the team, and they weren't even my employer. They were a client. So it was a little bit different because I valued the client. And to be clear, like I've been in this, I'm actually not thinking, I'm thinking of one client in particular, but I think this is a very common problem. Some people, especially with people who have lots of money, they don't understand. They're not good leaders. A lot of people with a lot of money are not good leaders. I love, as an aside, I love Jocko Willink's take on leadership. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with Jocko Willink?
I am not.
Jocko Willink is a former, I want to say he was, I'm going to butcher his biography, but he was like a commander in some branch of the military. I want to say maybe Navy. The chat's going to correct me undoubtedly here. He's amazing. He's written a bunch of books now. Now he's got a podcast. He's been on a bunch of big podcasts, and he's retired from the military, and he runs a consultancy that consults major companies around the world on effective leadership, and his whole thing is effective leadership. And his take on leadership is that, as a leader, your job is not to boss people around. Your job is literally to just know when to say execute. It's that simple. You should, in other words, his point is that you should be hiring people that you trust so much that you want to listen to them, that you value what they have to say, and that you're going to let them tell you why they're thinking about handling their work in certain ways. And all you have to say as a leadership is execute, or not the right time, wait. He's a military guy, so I guess he gets that from being in the military. But it's just like this is how people ought to lead teams, and very few leaders conduct themselves in these ways. So it's a common. I think it's a very understandable problem you're up against. My general philosophy when dealing with someone like that who is treating you like a subordinate or somebody who's lesser than is to give. I was going to say benefit of the doubt, but it's more than that. It's not benefit of the doubt. It is kind of some benefit of the doubt, but it's like, yeah, I'm going to just be the most respectful version of myself as I can while showing up to do this work. And if somebody says something that rubs me the wrong way, I'm not going to immediately get my feathers ruffled, even if I'm pretty sure they're just trying to be a jerk. And instead of leaving the work or getting into some heated confrontation, I will just calmly and respectfully state the situation as I see it and try to work towards progress with this person. And sometimes, more often than not, that will actually get you all kinds of things that you didn't expect, like promotions or more work or deeper relationships. People will trust you more because they'll be like, wow, like they're right. They said this and they're right. And sometimes it can get you out of a really bad situation, meaning that you can get yourself fired or you can prove that the relationship has no future. So it's, but again, like it's a much more generous thing, I think, and a much more hopeful thing to just continue to be a reliable source of objective truth, of being candid, of sharing how you're perceiving the situation instead of walking away or getting in a fight, and not look and to be very clear that you're not looking for a fight. I mean, you can say how you feel and in a way that is clear. You just want this work to keep going in the best way possible. That you care about the work, and And sometimes I've taken that to places with people where it just becomes clear, like the longest I ever did this while I was kind of like trying to figure out what the situation was. It took like 6 months of me doing this, even though like every day for 6 months, I was like, this seems bad, but I just kept it up for like 6 months. And eventually that relationship ended. And I'm glad that it ended in hindsight. But these kinds of situations are tricky to navigate because you're dealing with people who are paying you a salary or paying you a contract or paying you in whatever way they're paying you. But just because they're giving you a job does not give them license to treat you as a subordinate. They should absolutely be respecting what you're there to do. If they don't respect you, why the hell are they paying you anything? Like, that should just be a given, right? So that's my general philosophy, is that I just tend to assume, even if I have reasons to believe the person is not respecting what I'm there to do, I'll just assume that they do trust and respect me, and I'll carry on no matter what until the day it ends, being an advocate of what's best for the work. I'm not sure if that's helpful, but yeah, I sense the dilemma you're under, and that's it's not a fun one, because on one hand you got a job that would be you described it as an employer whose mission you believed in more, but they paid a lot less. And with this one, like, you have some opinions about how they conduct themselves, but they're paying you a lot more. And I guess I wonder, I'm saying all of these things because I guess I wonder how many people this person you're employed by has hired who has actually told them what they think. Like you mentioned somebody that you overheard a conversation with an employee of theirs where they asked if they could stay 15 minutes longer. And they said no. And that the person like gave them laser eyes and said, "You mean you can't give me 15 extra minutes?" Like what I would have said there would have just been like, "That's right. I cannot stay an extra 15 minutes today. We can talk about this at any time you want. Happy to talk about it." But I wonder if this person has people in their life that they've employed who talk to them that way. I wonder how they would respond. They might make them respect you more. It might also make them respect you less. But if they respect you less because of that, you certainly don't want to be employed by them. So that would give you your answer in the slowest and most diplomatic way possible.
Something that I do as a habit is whenever my boss tells me that I have nothing else for you, you're free to go for the day, I always say, "Are you sure? Do you need anything else?" And 99 times out of 100, they'll say, "No, really, you can just go home." But it's like there's this side of professionalism that I have that just wants to appear like I can handle anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be favored. And like when I show up to work, I want my boss to think, okay, I can tell her just about anything, and she'll do it. But this is an interesting position I'm in, because it's like I really want to go back and see if I can't undo this decision and find another job that I believe in, and am in fact currently working on an application to a very specific job that I haven't told my family about yet because I don't want to disappoint them.
I see.
Or worry them.
Do you feel like you're at the end of the road with this boss, or do you feel like there's more you could try? I mean, it sounds like they're paying you a decent amount of money.
It's not a decent amount of money, is the funny thing. Like, it's enough for me to get by, but there are two people that I live with, my brother and my dad. We all share an apartment, and my dad also got laid off from his job in May. So we were both job hunting for a good amount of time. He's now a part-time substitute teacher while he's looking for more full-time work, and I'm doing this, trying to make ends meet. This job just happened to be paying several dollars more an hour than their competitors. That's why my dad was like, "Oh, you should definitely take this one because, you know, you'll be able to afford this, this, and this, and this if you keep saving."
Right.
Hmm.
So the plot thickens a little bit. You're under some constraints. You're trying to make ends meet. Excuse me.
You're fine.
And you still, even with what they're paying you, you feel it's not enough. Is that right?
It's possible because my hours are very flexible. I'm not getting a set amount of hours every week. So what ended up happening, my first paycheck was a good $200 less than I had anticipated. Just because I didn't work out the math correctly in my head, but still, it felt like a blow. Because I'm actually making less money than the job I got laid off from, which isn't a huge deal. It just works out to be a lot less in my paychecks than I was expecting.
I see. Yeah. Well, I know you said you're not looking for career advice. So, and I certainly am not I'm not familiar with the line of work you're in. I've never worked in childcare, and I don't know. I wouldn't know the first thing to tell you about what's fair pay for that. That would be a much longer conversation to get to the bottom of those things. And you already said you're not looking for career advice. So all I know to say is that it sounds like, at the very least, your boundaries with this boss might go a long way. Who knows? Like, maybe if you can diplomatically and effectively set up some boundaries, or maybe better than seeing it as a boundary, just fostering a relationship with your boss that garners respect for you, more respect for you, and forces the boss, again, diplomatically, to acknowledge that you're not a pushover and that you're going to work harder than anybody else in your role for them because of that, and that they would be better off being on your good side and keeping you happy than by forcibly keeping you around or asking you to do extra work or paying you less than you were expecting or whatever it is. If you can do all of that, who knows? Like, maybe you get a promotion. Maybe they give you a raise. Maybe they put you in charge of more things. And again, like, to be very clear, there's no guarantee in that. There's no guarantee at all. In fact, like, some people are completely oblivious and will just fire people that stand up with any kind of point. Some people just want subordinates work. They want underlings. And I guess I'm saying, like, if you're already on the fence of leaving this job, would it be worth trying to foster a healthier relationship with your boss that would garner more respect for you in a final attempt to a final fantasy to, see if there's any more growth that could be possible? If you're already on the fence of leaving, why not try to foster that kind of relationship? Because I bet you that it would either result in some kind of deeper relationship or some kind of acknowledgement of a further acknowledgement of what you do for the company, or it'll end with a very clear signal that this is not a good fit, and then you'll have your confirmation if that's true. But I guess I'm with your dad a little bit that it would be silly not to consider that you're making more here than you would elsewhere, even if it's just a few extra dollars an hour. I guess I kind of feel that way a little bit.
Okay.
But it's
It
not
is
worth you
good
being
to have
disrespected.
a second opinion on that.
What's that?
I said it is good to have a second opinion, somebody else saying that, because most of my family, when I was talking to them about my different decisions, were like, just do what makes you happy,
Mm-hmm.
which was very, very, very nice to hear, just not very helpful. And when you've only got one person saying, I think you should take the one with more money, and then you do it, it feels like you needed more substance before making that sort of a decision. So I appreciate you saying that.
Great. I'm glad it was helpful on some level. I'm thinking of a book I'd like to recommend to you. Are you familiar with Chris Voss?
I don't think so.
Chris Voss is a former FBI negotiator. He was the best in the world, and he would be sent on the most intense hostage negotiation cases around the world. Again, like he was number one. Chris Voss is his name. He has a book that is amazing. I've read it twice, called Never Split the Difference, Negotiating as if your life depended on it. Amazing book on negotiation. The angle of the book is that every conversation in life is a negotiation, whether you're talking with your kid about their bedtime or whether they can have another cookie, or whether you're negotiating for the life of a hostage, or whether you're asking your boss for a raise or fewer hours. All of these things are negotiations. And this book is unbelievable. It's just overflowing with life-changing tips from like the best negotiator in the world, arguably, on how to navigate difficult conversations in a way that will keep the pressure down and keep everyone united towards the same goal. Because often negotiation is seen as this fighting match of like, oh, I'm right, no, I'm right, and this book is Chris does an amazing job of providing tactics for negotiating in a way where you can get what you feel is fair without alienating the other party, or and doing it in a way where you actually yield positive results. So a lot of what I'm regurgitating to you is coming from works like this one. This would be the one I would recommend to you for sure. I'm gonna put this in the chat for you. Never Split the Difference. The Goodreads link is in the chat for you. There's an excellent audiobook. The audiobook for Never Split the Difference is one of my favorite audiobooks. I do recommend reading generally, though. If you're pressed for time, it's a great audiobook. I would happily recommend that you check the audiobook out if time's an issue. But again, generally, I'm more of a fan of reading it because I feel like you get more out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. I wanted to get all that off my chest because I'm worried that a lot of the reason why I'm unhappy in this job isn't just because it's stressful in general, but because it's stressful because we're understaffed.
Right.
And I think having the confidence to talk to my boss about not just what I want, but my concerns would probably be a real good start.
Yeah, I would say maybe tomorrow you wake up and give yourself 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and write down on paper or on your computer, write down the 3 to 5 common conversations that you run into with your boss that are difficult. Type them out or write them down in the way you're used to hearing it from your boss. Be as specific as possible. Record it as it happens, as accurately as you remember it happening, and then take some time to write some responses to that. And you're never going to show these to anybody; they're just for you. But take some time to record what it is that you're encountering with your boss, the conversations that happen that you feel stuck in, and take some time to form some responses that are kind of what we've been talking about, like ways that would foster a better relationship and a relationship where you can actually be respected and trusted when you say something that you have the you're giving your best effort and that you have the best wishes for the company. And maybe it takes longer than an hour. Maybe you spend an hour doing it, but then you come back later the next day and you look at the answers you wrote and you're like, actually, these would be a little bit, these sound different today. Maybe I should massage this a little bit and do this. Like, you can't do this process. You can't do too much, in my opinion. You could, if it's a really serious situation. I've done this and spent months on it before I've ever regurgitated it to the other party. So take your time with it is what I would say. Really make sure that if you were to say these words to your boss, you would feel comfortable saying them, and that they're actually what you're after, and that you're not half-assing anything. You're not compromising. That's what's so great about that title, that Chris Voss book. Never split the difference. His whole premise is that compromise is bullshit. He comes right out of the gate and says that from the beginning. He's like, compromise is bullshit. He's like, all this negotiation training from the last 20, 30 years is about finding compromise and win-win situations. And he's like, I'm here to tell you that in a hostage negotiation, there is no compromising. There is only getting the person out and getting the criminal to turn themselves in. And so it's just this amazing book. It's just like totally rattles everything that people hear about negotiation. It's life-changing.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you like it as much as I did. I'm talking a big game for sure, but it lives up to it. I guarantee you. Great book.
I believe you.
Well, I wish you the best. I'm glad you called in, shared. There's a bunch of helpful stuff in the chat you can revisit. I hope you enjoy the book, and I would love to get an update from you in the future. Hope to get a good update.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
All right, take care of yourself. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, you too.
All right, guys, let's take one more caller. Moss noting that I liked an audiobook. That audiobook is something else. The voice of Carl Raz in that book, oh my gosh, that guy's voice, unbelievable. I just like, sorry, Tal Raz, not with a K, with a T. Tal Raz, his voice. I don't know who that guy is, but the voice in that book is just unbelievable. It sounds a lot like Chris Voss's voice too. Okay, lines are opening. Probably take one more call, depending on what we get into. I don't know, who knows? Maybe we have like 7 toasts out of nowhere. It does seem like the chat lit up with some trolls earlier, so I don't know what we're going to get into here. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you feeling?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm not sure if you talk about this kind of stuff with I stay awake at night for things like knowing a lot of people in this world are going to be screwed because of this economic downturn we're about to have. I don't know if you want to talk about that kind of stuff, but it does keep me up at night, and I don't mind talking about it. I always do like talking about it.
Well, I'm happy to talk to you about that. I would just ask that we not get political, that we not.
Oh no.
Yeah, but if it's keeping you up at night, yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I know I'm not the only one that does this. There's a big group of us, but all of us take a lot different. You probably heard of the GameStop saga and all that stuff on the news, and this kind of stuff just like keeps me up at night because how much I've read and I know, and I need to learn how to almost cope with it, I guess, in a way. Because I don't know, it's pretty stressful.
Well, we do have to
Pretty
be
stressful.
careful what we read. Words are cheap. Words are free. Um, what's keeping you up at night?
I just, I mean, I've been reading on this stuff for like a year and a half now. Yeah, definitely, I understand that what you read can influence your acts and stuff, all that. I definitely agree. But the thing is with the stuff I've been reading, it's actually been happening with like the stock market crashing and housing market, like stuff that these these very intellectual group of people who do the research, uh, in my opinion, uh, have uncovered some things in that have happened already, like $11 trillion leaving the market and all this corruption and inside of all kinds of things. Like, I mean, you can literally look up your childhood school and find these companies that we've found literally riddling our school systems and stuff like that, purposefully taking financial classes out of curriculum and screwing up society, but yet no one knows or wants to understand it. And it's like everyone you talk to about it too, it's hard, but you know, I don't know. I just it has been interfering with my sleep too, and it's crazy.
I'm really sorry to hear that. There's
Yeah.
no doubt there's problems. You're not talking to someone who's naive. You're talking to somebody that maybe reads too many things. I like to read. When I read one thing, I'll go read 3 other things arguing that point, and I'll really like I stay in states of nuance with things where I don't really take sides for a long time. I take sides with very few arguments because the truth is we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We barely know what's going to happen in the weather tomorrow, unless you live in a place like California or the desert. You know,
Yeah.
it can be, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Nobody does. Of course, there's corruption. Corruption is everywhere and always will be. We will never get rid of corruption. We'll never get rid of unstable markets. Markets are unstable, not because of politics or corruption specifically. Markets are unstable and economies are unstable because people are people, and nothing's predictable and nothing's guaranteed. And
Greedy.
yeah, and of course, obviously, I'm not discounting that there is corruption.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know what you believe, but I would say it's irrelevant what you believe philosophically here, because humans, since the beginning of time, have been thinking the world's going to end soon. I mean, that's not a new idea at all. That idea
Oh
is tens of thousands of years old, that we're on the brink of disaster all the time. And maybe we are. I mean, we live in a universe bound by time, space, and entropy, and things tend to fall apart unless they're maintained. So it is kind of a miracle that any of us are here living civilized lives and having things like markets. You know, it's pretty uncanny. It's pretty wild.
Oh yeah.
It's the opposite of wild, actually. It's
No.
civil. It's civilized. But my point is that it doesn't matter what you believe about the world or where we came from or our place in the universe. I mean, all you have to do is read a book like the Bible and see that people have been thinking for thousands of years that we're on the brink of a disaster, and yet it hasn't been the end of the world yet. And fear is a cheap exploit. Words are even cheaper.
Yeah.
You can evoke a lot of
Well,
fear with words.
Sorry, but the thing is, the fear is not on the idea of what's going on. It's not like what I read is not fearing me. What I read is actually pumps me, but it's like when I lay it in bed at night, so it's like I'm probably, I mean, honestly, just the way things are turning out and how most colleges are white privileged kids that get to spend their parents' money. I mean, that's just the way it is mostly. But a lot of people and people getting benefits from like government funding, are not going to be able to return to school and stuff like that. Like I'm assuming this next semester or spring, because I'm thinking things are going to be that bad. And it's just like, I don't know. It's crazy to think about that. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's going to be inevitable. I mean, I'm not saying, the world's not going to end or nothing like that. I mean, I don't know what the outcome is be, but it's just, there's going to be a lot of, there already is a lot of unfortunate people out there.
Certainly. Yeah,
but
certainly.
It's just going to get worse and worse. Well, maybe, we'll see. Like I said, if you always want to read what I'm reading too, just to make me not look like a psychopath, it's I read Reddit Super Stonks. It's r/Super Stonks. Great. It's a channel on Reddit for what I'm talking about, and where they talk about this stuff. But I read a lot on there. These people are also like kind of losing sleep at night for kind of the same reason. It's kind of the unselfish. I mean, everything's selfish, but this, I don't know. It's a very hard thing. It's like I'm losing sleep because it's what's going to happen to other people. But I know I'm okay because I own the asset that's what everyone's going to want. So it's going to be crazy. I don't know.
How old are you?
It may or may not happen. I'm 23.
You're very young to be dreading so much in life. You sound very well read. Seems like it seems like you read a lot. We do have to be very careful what we read. I mean, I wasn't, when I was your age, I had a much different approach to information I would take in. I would just read things. It's not that I took everything I read to be true, but I was much less, my filter was not nearly as mature as it is now. Like, I just pretty much doubt everything I read now, unless it's like, unless there's lots and lots of data. And again, like, I'm not arguing with you. I'm not saying that you're right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, things that go viral. Go ahead.
I can say that most of the information I do read is from, but like you said, sources can be iffy, but saying that, they are mostly government documents and stuff like that, and or like SEC forms and information from these entities, not stuff that people are pulling out of their asses or anything like that. It's legitimate information. I mean, anyone can find it. And like I said, it's from a so-called credible source. But I don't trust the people that are making the sources, but yet they're giving us the sources, and it's all lined towards they don't top 1% of the 1% don't give a shit about anyone, and as of right now, nothing can do anything. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know. That brings me anger.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to be very real, of course. Yeah. I mean, like I said, corruption is real. People do shit they shouldn't do. Certainly, we will learn things about, for example, the Jeffrey Epstein case, which has already gone on like, how the hell do we not know more about what happened there? Like, give me a break. And I believe
that's insane.
I believe that is a very central story that we have yet to learn about fully, and that when certain details there, I think there's probably some crossover with what you're talking about in that story potentially.
There is, sadly. There's a lot of crossover.
At the very least,
dealing with a lot of wealthy people there.
Right. Yeah, that's my point. So I'm empathizing with you that this is keeping you up at night. And certainly there's things people get away with that aren't right. I mean, that Jeffrey Epstein's case in point, like, that's just so disturbing to think that we live in a world where people could get away with that for so long and then never pay a price for it. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein died, but I would say that was not really paying a price for it. And there's just a lot of really suspect things happening with
Yeah.
all of that. Not least of which that we're hearing nothing yet about the accounts of certain people at the center of it. So,
Yeah.
but my
It's
question,
crazy.
it is crazy.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
My question to you would be, let's go to the worst case scenario, because you're not a guy that beats around the bush. You're a guy that's just getting right to the point. You called in and right away said, I think the world is ending, or the people are about. You didn't say the word. I put that word in the conversation. You said that you think it's going to be really bad.
You're fine. I know what you mean.
But to get really
we'll change it to the biggest transfer in wealth is going to happen inevitably. When, I don't know, but I also don't know how that's going to turn out. That's like, I mean, even you can try to think what would happen whenever all the rich literally become poor, and then people that are already rich, poor, broke, homeless, that are in this movement with me, well, including me, are going to become somewhat wealthy and actually be able to benefit society, like being able to, we did the math. There's I think like 800,000 of us or something like that. Technically, 1 million people that are in this thing. Like a bet, essentially. I don't know. It's very. I can talk about this for hours and hours, but it costs us $15,000 to clean the ocean each, and that's 800,000 people of us. And you're telling me one person can do that very easily, and they choose not to. This stuff, on the gist of that.
right.
But yeah, we'll just call it the biggest transfer of wealth. We won't call it the world ending, because whatever happens after transfer of wealth, I don't know.
Well, if that happened, wouldn't that be great news?
Not for you, but for me, yeah.
Depends on the asset, I guess.
On the bet, like I said, I can call it a bet now, but it's an educated. We're the house in this bet, which is really nice. It's just we're waiting.
Well,
I can very briefly summarize, but that's definitely up to you.
Then what's keeping you up at night? Why aren't you sleeping?
Well, because I know how many people are going to be affected by this. Like, whether they're, good or bad, never wish worse you on yourself than your enemy. But like, you will on yourself to your enemy. But it's like, I don't want to help them when this stuff happens. I don't know how a lot of people. This 2008, I wasn't very super conscious at that time. I was 10 years old, so I just kind of seen the stress of people around me. And it's like, I'm not sure if you remember 2008, like how stressful that was.
I do.
And gosh, and just imagine this is going to be worse than that. It's like, seriously, I can't imagine how people are going to handle this. I really don't know. There's people that were offing themselves. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about that or not, but due to financial stuff in 2000, there's people already starting to do it now. It's crazy, and I just don't know what to do. There's nothing I really can do. I'm an individual on a planet of 7 billion people that no one wants to listen to us, but I don't know.
Well, it's an interesting problem you're facing, because you're not staying up because you're worried about yourself. You're staying up at night because you're worried about others.
Other well-being, yes.
Yeah, that's very admirable. I would maintain that we have to be very guarded about how we let things like that affect us. That's my central point here, that, of course, everybody's going to read things, everybody's going to educate themselves, everybody's going to be interested in certain topics and not others, and some people are going to research their investments and others are not, and everybody's going to disagree. Most people are going to disagree about how one should research for an investment. So what you're saying is it's a conundrum, but we got to be really guarded, of course, about how we let that manifest. I mean, if you're staying up at night because of this. That's not good for you. I know that you're saying you. I realize that it's not. You're dreading your own life. You're dreading what it's going to do to the world if you're right about this. But again, I'd say like none of us really know. You used the word bet, and it sounds like you're betting with your money. So it's a literal bet for you. And
Yeah, it's. I mean, at the same time, I'm no millionaire. I'm a college student, but I work very hard for my money. But at the same time, I have disposable income. Family's not exactly poor or rich at all. Uh, and I mean, I have money I can spend, so it's not like I'm losing. It's not like this money has attachment to me. I'm not losing while I was asleep. I mean, that doesn't feel like I went to the casino and lost $100 when it goes up or down. It's definitely not. It's like I said, it's not. It's the only way I can summarize it, I guess, is I can say is a bet, but it's I don't know. It's seriously, it's more the worrying about other people and what's going to happen to everyone. Because like I said, 2008 is a very most recent reference to what things would feel like, but the way that things look is it's going to be more in a depression, and none of us have lived through a depression.
correct.
As in economically.
Correct.
So it's going to be, I don't know, I mean, like I said, it's going to be a crazy journey, and I don't know how this is going to pan out.
Right. Well, you're talking to a curious person, and you got me curious. I mean, I have opinions about what you're sharing, but I'm resisting getting nitty gritty with you on that, as to spare the listeners, and also to keep it on topic, because to me, I'm less interested here in this place on ideas, and more interested in just how people are doing, which I'm sure it sounds like you can understand that as somebody who's staying up all night thinking about other people. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're interested, I would invite you to send me an email to the email address in the video description with what it is you're reading, and I'll look into it.
Well, okay. Well, it's probably I can talk to you on Discord too, and just call you there one-on-one, and we can talk. If you ever want to do that, it's a lot easier to. I agree. Okay, so it's very easy to understand talking, and then you go back and read it. Reading it is what the part that you obviously know. Reading convinces yourself whether you believe it or not. Hearing it is all just bias. But I can give you stuff I can show you the stuff to read, and I can explain it. I love talking about this topic too. Very passionate about it, but like I said, sadly, my passionate thing messes up my sleep and my day-to-day
Right.
sometimes.
I'm going to refuse to talk to you on the Discord because it's keeping you up at night already. I would much rather just you give me a couple links to go look at. I would rather you get sleep, and I'd love to see you find a place with this where it's not keeping you up at night. It's not healthy for you. I mean, you will, even if you're right here, even if you're right about even if your bet is good, you're no better off. In fact, biologically, you're worse off than everybody else that makes it through it, based on the fact that you're not sleeping. I mean, we need to get sleep every night. So I would say that you've got to. There's so many people in the chat saying that they want to see you. They're encouraging you to get into some talk therapy if you're not already, and get some sunshine and things like this. And I think that these are. It would be easy to think these people are being sarcastic, but I really think they're concerned about you in the same way that you're concerned about others and staying up all night thinking about what's going to happen in the world. I think everybody here cares about you, and I care about you.
I agree.
So
I have a lot of people that care about me. I'm very lucky that I do have a lot of people that care. The only problem is it's just, I mean, I have a lot of people to talk to, but a lot of people don't like to talk to me about this topic. But I understand. It's not that I don't understand. I mean, I understand the bizarreness of it. It's like trying to explain Sasquatch to someone in a way. But the thing is, this has proof, and so it's just a lot of people are denying it. But I mean, I don't know. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Maybe literally crazy. It'll take some time to find out.
Yeah. Well, the people at the top are crazy that they've done what they've done. But yeah, and I'm not. Yeah, I agree with you. These guys do have great advice. I mean, a talk therapy probably would definitely help because I can obviously talk and get things off my chest without people giving me any weird looks or anything like that.
No, no judgment here.
Yeah.
I mean, corruption's real. It always has been, always will be. We'll never get rid of it. People are going to do shit that's not right, and money's really hard, but it sure does beat trading cattle. It's a lot easier to trade with some dollars or some cryptocurrency than it is to like put a bunch of cattle on a boat and trade it for a house somewhere or something. Like, I mean,
take care of those cattle.
What are we gonna do?
Stuff.
So
yeah, no one knows that today.
Right. But I do invite you to send me an email with a couple links that you think might be interesting for me to read. I'll look at them for real. I'm curious. I'm already familiar with what you're talking about, but I would definitely look at something if you sent it to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess it's a very popular thing last year, obviously, when, it hit the news a lot more, but now it's being, in my opinion, and what I've read, it's being suppressed, so you probably won't hear, you're not going to be able to look on mainstream media. Yes, you have to use Reddit as your source, but I mean, you believe what you believe, I'll believe what I believe, and, it's awesome.
I will say, as a closing thought, since you're losing sleep over this, I will say, I don't know if this helps you or not, but I will say that I think Reddit is no more reliable. I'm using that word intentionally. It's no more reliable than mainstream media, right? Because it's completely unregulated. Anybody can say whatever the hell they want, and it's not any more reliable than the mainstream media, in my view. I think it's a really unfair thing how much a disservice most mainstream media news is to us today. It should be a public service. It's what it is. It should be treated as such. We should be able to trust the information we're getting. And we're in a time where we don't, most of the time we're inclined to believe we can't trust it. There's so much bad information, and the media will go back on things they say, like 6 months later, they'll change their tune and be like, they'll say, they won't even say we were wrong. They'll just come out and say something totally different. You're like, wait, 6 months ago you were telling us XYZ, and now you're saying ABC? Like, what the hell's happening? So, my point is that, so my point is I'm empath. Are you talking? I'm having trouble. I think I'm talking over you. I can't tell.
Oh, no, you're right on it, that's the way it is. But
So my point is that we still got to be careful reading on Reddit because it's no better. Like, maybe there's some equation of the accuracy of posters on Reddit versus journalists on any number of mainstream media news channels, but we don't know what that is precisely, and there's certainly a lot of BS on Reddit. So I'm saying that just hoping that it at least helps you go to sleep tonight. I'd love to hear that you've found some sleep.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm definitely not a melatonin taker or anything like that. It's not like I don't need supplements. It's just, I've already explained myself. It's just fucking, sorry, but thinking about other people and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I can't find the email also. I can only see the Discord.
Should be in there. It's not a hyperlink because I get a lot of spam there. It's separated by some hyphens. It's js@anonymouslive.com, and anonymous is spelled in our special little way. Yeah, it's in there. It's under the first large paragraph. It's definitely in there. I see it, but it's not a hyperlink. It's broken up to avoid the bots.
Yeah.
But if you
I'll definitely send some stuff your way. I'll let you sort some things out. If you ever have questions, you can always ask back, or like I said, if you ever need to talk or you want to talk about it, you can let me know. And it's great. I mean, I'll even dream about this stuff too. I had dreams last night about it. It's crazy.
Right.
And they're not like anything crazy dreams. It's like, I don't know what it was. It was a really weird, it was related to it. But, I can, like I said, I'll send some stuff your way. I want to turn over and try to get me some sleep immediately afterwards.
Good. Trying to get some sleep.
Yeah, definitely will.
Excuse me, guys. Well, it was great to chat with you. I would love to hear that you're sleeping better. Careful what you read. Actually, don't be careful what you read. I think you can read whatever the hell you want. But
yeah, no,
careful what you let get to you.
Yes, sir.
Take care of yourself. Call back again anytime. Good luck with the sleep.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for talking.
Same to you. Good night. Goodness gracious. I'm coughing up all the shit I killed today. I literally annihilated this thing. I'm so good at annihilating a cold. If you guys ever want a tip on never getting a cold, I woke up this morning feeling like I had no energy. I was like, oh man, I got to stream tonight. I got to kick this thing. And I hadn't felt something come on in so long, like pre-COVID. I'm talking like before. I have not felt even a cold attempt to come on to me since before COVID. So we're talking like 2019 or something. So I wake up this morning, I'm feeling a little inexperienced from my cold fighting routine. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I felt like so drained. My kids were like, they were so worried about me. They have not seen me so tired. And I just kicked this thing's ass. Look at me. I'm up at midnight and I'm feeling good. Like, I'm just coughing some shit up. But yeah, my secret is colloidal silver, apple cider vinegar, vitamin C, zinc, and that's my secret. It works. I haven't been sick in years. And I'm one of the only people I know that never got COVID. So there you go, for whatever that's worth. I want to thank Then He Said for that generous super chat. Thank you so much for being here and contributing in the chat and contributing to this project. You guys are all awesome. I value these streams so much, and it always feels like an adventure turning these phone lines on and wondering what we're about to talk about. So thanks for coming on these rides and being there for these callers in this way. It just feels so great. And if you want to discuss life coaching, I'll throw that up here since we're talking about it again. I'm looking for people that might be going through things like this on the screen here. If any of these are things you're experiencing, these are all things I've got a lot of experience with. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not even a certified life coach, but it's an unregulated thing here in the States, which is something I would not take advantage of if this turns into something. This is still early days, so I'm still like just feeling this out. Maybe in a month I'm not even doing this anymore, but it feels like a natural extension of what we're doing here on the streams, and I'm curious what it would turn into, and if there's a need for it or a demand for it, I will certainly be seeking some certifications in different areas, and maybe eventually a psychology degree, which would be an amazing dream come true, something I've always wanted a reason to pursue. Instead of studying that in college, I just got on YouTube. That was my plan. And look at us. Here we are. All right, guys. I'm going to go get some sleep. You guys take care, and I'll see you on, let's see here, Tuesday. We do these Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 9 p.m. Central for about 3 hours. And I will see you then.